Woo! Give me a quick second, guys. We're just getting started. Here we go. Sorry, guys. We're just getting everything started. How are we doing, Alex?
Not bad.
Jiminy Christmas. There we go. Everything should be set up. It concerns me. Oh, there we go. I was wondering if the chat was going to come back on. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they actually disable the live chat until it's live.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought maybe because it still had like the 24th as the start date, but
yeah.
It's what can you do? It's glitchy always.
So welcome everybody to the podcast tonight. We've got actually a fairly full agenda to talk about tonight, so we'll probably use up the whole 2 hours. I don't know. That's my guess right now. And we actually did have a story that didn't make the cut, and maybe we'll mention it there. Oh, yes. I was going to go get the link or whatever, but somebody was wondering if we were going to be doing a Nintendo talk tonight and wanted to know if we were going to mention the story about Miitomo shutting down. So Miitomo, I want to say, has been running for about a year, maybe 2.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's shutting down, guys. It just isn't bringing in the numbers. I wish I could say I had opinions or anything like that on it right now, but no, not really. And there's not really a whole lot of other stuff to talk about Nintendo-wise tonight. We do have lots to talk about, though. Yeah. Including like we said, the Razzies and the Oscar nominations are out, and so we're gonna have some fun going over those. A couple of basically a film remake you wouldn't expect, and a film you also wouldn't expect. We're going to talk about both of those. We're also going to be talking about El Derby because everybody else has. We're always late to the game.
Sup, Giro? Yes, we did talk
Giro,
about.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we talked about it. That was a few shows ago.
Yep. And in our opinion, we could actually sum this up for you. Good riddance.
Yeah. It really should have just been already integrated into Prime. It shouldn't have been this whole other service with an extra pay fee.
I actually don't agree with that. I think it should have been a step below Prime. Because then at that point, that actually would have been a really great gateway for people to maybe go into Prime Video kind of thing. Right. But like you're talking to the guy who thinks that the Prime service, you know, the 48-hour delivery and all that, and Prime Video should be a separate service altogether kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, so in my ideal world, Strike, Prime Video, and then Prime kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think
the only reason you can't do that is you have to rename it all.
Yeah, I'd have to be like under a bunch of different tiers. I guess I would have been up for like, okay, like Prime members just automatically get access to Strike, but anybody who wants to opt into Strike can just pay the fee for Strike.
And then it just goes backwards. So if you're in Prime, you get access to everything up until that point, kind of thing. Because you're already paying you're already paying the excess money and all that crap. That's already happening. You might as well just get it. And then at that point, you're still also getting all of the Prime benefits.
Just realized I had my gain all the way up. Am I coming in too loud?
No, but it sounds a little bit clearer now, so that'll be helpful. especially when I get the raw audio from you. And hello, Stephen and Omni.
Hello.
Hello. You and me are going to have a very productive weekend.
Indeed.
Because did you get a copy today, or?
Yeah, I actually got the preload, so I technically was able to play it last night. I say technically in the sense that it was loaded, but I had to go to bed by the time it finished loading, and that and the Super Saiyan Showdown took forever to get to the match that everyone actually wanted to see.
Yeah, I'll admit that I tried to watch it at the beginning, but then I got busy with other things and needed to go to the gym before my wife went to bed and all that. So I actually caught the match itself today, and it was worth it as far as I'm concerned. They need to do it again. I love the fact that they're kind of hinting that there will be a rematch. And I'll also hand it over to Sean Schemmel. I was wondering how he was going to make it work, and he just made it all Goku.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I didn't expect them to do. And we were right on that, Romney, is that so Chris Sabat picked Yamcha, Piccolo, and Vegeta, all roles he plays. And Sean Schemmel picked Goku because that's the only one that he plays. Unless King Kai gets added later. Yeah, so basically they loopholed it. Goku Super Saiyan Blue, and then Goku Black. So it was an all Goku team.
Yep.
All right, and welcome everybody. So we're gonna give a couple more minutes for people to pile on in, and then we'll get things started. But yeah, so a little bit of a sneak peek, guys, in case you're interested. Drac Tries will resume this weekend, as me and Stephen Romney will be taking on Dragon Ball Fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And
sweet.
Actually, it's probably going to be a pretty long video because people do want story coverage as well as versus coverage. So I have a feeling that we'll actually go. Usually, Drac Tries now runs for about 30 to 45 minutes. We might actually go past the hour limit at that point, just to get everything. Because I want to give everything its fair due, and then next week is Dissidia, and people are asking for that as well.
Yeah, it's still weird seeing, because I keep seeing those cup noodles that have the Final Fantasy characters on them. It's just weird seeing that in the US.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't escape it either, because like I go shopping, there's all the Cloud Strife on the chicken. I go to work into the break room where they have stuff for the employees to grab. Suddenly I open one of the cupboards, there's lightning on all the shrimp ones. And I'm just like, I can't escape it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I just barely found out that the Dissidia demo has hit the PlayStation Store, and so people can try that out. And I have not, and that's simply because I just don't have enough time with all of the excess footage that I'm trying to get for top 10s, which unfortunately, guys, might actually bleed into February. I'm almost done, but I don't have all of the footage I want. So that's probably going to be a thing. But yeah, I was at least happy that I was able to watch Goku versus Vegeta. # Team Vegeta for life, baby.
Yep.
But you know what? I agree with you. There was a point where you had to start pitying Goku at that. Or like poor Sean. He had controller problems. At least that's what he's saying. He had controller problems, and then even when he didn't have controller problems, I think he also said he had lag problems in between the two screens, because I think they had to use two separate PS4s to make it work. And Sean and Chris still just beat the ever living crap out of Sean.
Yeah, probably doesn't help that when they were sending out the copies to have them prepared, they sent the one meant for Sean, not to Sean himself, but his accountant.
But to his accountant. I thought that was absolutely funny.
Yep.
And so that was like the joke for a majority of it, is like, oh, I'll bet he's actually playing this right now in his pajamas on his couch.
Yep. Honestly, what they did where they had Sean and Chris commentating on some of the exhibition matches was definitely better than, well, the two people we had commenting on it. And granted, I'm not too familiar with the who's in the fighting game scene, but a lot of people in the live chat were kind of agreeing of, yeah, they clearly aren't used to commenting to an audience, so...
No. Well, you're talking Sean and Chris, because I would also say that, I mean, I'm not saying that the crew that did it did a bad job, but there were a couple of points where I don't know if you actually saw this point, but like they were trying to find opponents for one of the higher end guys, and so they were taking oncomers in the crowd. And that took a while, so much so that the shoutcasters had a little bit of an issue because they went quiet a couple of times going, well, are we doing anything? Are we doing anything?
Yeah, and that just it's kind of one of those things where, given how fast fighting games move, I mean, it's like sports commentating, and it's just watching those two. I mean, I don't blame them because at least they knew what to watch out for. It's just very much, okay, stop trying to make jokes about Dragon Ball Z and actually, comment on the mechanics, because that's clearly what you're better at.
Exactly. The as much as we want to make jokes about the anime, you can't focus on that because in some cases the jokes that they were trying to make are taking a lot of setup, and the other problem is that you have to be a Dragon Ball fan. Who knows if I have to at least think that maybe a couple of friends were dragged there and aren't necessarily Dragon Ball fans. They just wanted to meet some voice actors, kind of thing. So at that point, it's like, oh, I don't get that.
Well, yeah, especially given just. I mean, there's no other way to say it, but there are parts of the Dragon Ball saga as a whole that are more or less inaccessible without having to do a bunch of research. I mean, again, this comes from someone who stopped following the series after the Cell saga for that reason. One was because I just lost interest because I felt the Cell saga was a good ending. And then the other part was just, it was very much, and again, a lot of it is because back in the day, back when VHS tapes were a thing, when we would check them out from the library, we wouldn't always get them in order. No. So we would often watch a lot of episodes out of order. Now, for the most part, we were able to follow, especially the Frieza fight, where you basically had a bunch of episodes out of order that's like, oh, well, it's the same stretch of time that they're padding, so we're not literally missing anything. But then
And on top of that, what you also brought up with the shoutcasting is even though this is based on, and the same thing happens, I see a lot of shoutcasters doing this with Mortal Kombat and Injustice and all that, where they want to bring the history into it. Speaking as a guy who's done very little shoutcasting, like I've done it for a tournament and that was about it. Like I did it for practicum for college, and that was already hard enough to be able to cover what was going on the screen, let alone trying to get people familiar with the content. I actually had to give up doing that and just say like, this is, and just use the fighting game terminology so that the people were still invested in the fight.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those, there's a time and place sort of things where if you're commenting on a live match, stick to commenting on the mechanics.
Yeah.
If people want to learn about the mythology, they will do the due diligence. And that's the same thing that can be applied here. Although I will say I did finally start watching Super, mainly because since I've been doing a lot of organizing and moving, I just kind of have the English dub playing in the background while I do stuff.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like Super isn't that bad, but I will agree with a lot of the reviewers that have come out and said this. Maybe avoid the Resurrection F and Battle of the Gods arcs because they aren't necessarily the best. They kind of showcase animation at its worst. Start up from the Universe 6 arc and you're fine. Unless you absolutely have to see what they did to change those arcs.
Yeah, for me, I've been starting from the very beginning just because, again, I'm doing other things, so I just have it in the background. So it's like, okay, I'm kind of familiar with what's going on, but it's been a while since I've seen both films, so I'll just let it kind of play while I work.
And that's probably the best way to go about it, because I literally watched Battle of the Gods and I went, what the hell? I'll watch the battle. I'll watch from episode 1 of Super, and the first episode's fine because it's not really involving anything, but then you get into the story events of Battle of Gods. I'm like, and I could not separate the two. So at that point, yes, Super does look inferior to Battle of the Gods.
Yeah. Although I will notice there were a few, again, they're probably minor, but I did notice a few minor plot changes between the film and the anime, especially when you consider oh, here's how Bulma had the Dragon Balls stored on the yacht for the bingo tournament. I'm just like, okay, that's an interesting thing to see what they did differently, but at the same time, it's still the same basic story.
But at the same time, you also have a lot of people like the whole Super Saiyan God and how it played out in the movie compared to how it played out in the series. I will admit personally, I liked having Goku look down and say, "This is a power I didn't earn myself." He doesn't really say that in the arc.
Well, yeah, and one thing that bothers me is, and because in Battle of Gods, the movie, when King Kai tells Vegeta, hey, this thing that beat Goku in 2 moves is coming to planet Earth, Vegeta immediately knows who Beerus is. He's just like, oh, crap, this is serious.
Yeah.
Whereas here, they're just like, oh, he only vaguely knows kind of some of the menace that Beerus had, where, okay, he's so fearsome, so malevolent that even Vegeta knows not to mess with him.
Yeah.
And then they just have it where it's like, oh, he only vaguely knows him. I'm just like, why? Why would you do that?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, they actually went into reasoning in the arc of like why Vegeta would know him, and in the movie, they just said, you know, we're gonna have Vegeta be ignorant for a little while, and then when he hears the name, he immediately freaks out, and that's when he gets all those humble moments.
Like, because I remember in the movie, Vegeta actually like flashes back because he remembers when his father had to entertain Beerus on planet Vegeta.
But I don't remember them being like, because I remember the series like taking time and actually explaining why Beerus was something to be feared. In the movie, for some reason, I remember it being like flashbacks, like boom, boom, boom. Oh, I know this guy's evil.
Well, yeah, and to be honest, for me, I think that's all you really need with Beerus. Yeah. It's not like you're losing too much. It's very much the classic case of brevity is the soul of wit. You don't have to devote like whole episodes to explaining, hey, this guy's a threat. I mean, we literally see him knock Goku flat, and so he's like, okay, we know he's a threat.
Unlike the series, which actually like they had to piss off Beerus somehow, so they found a way that's saying apparently Saiyans don't make good pillows, and that's why he blew it. That's why he ordered the destruction of Planet Vegeta, kind of thing. Anywho, yeah. I know that a lot of people enjoy the Dragon Ball discussion, but we probably better get started. Otherwise, we're gonna bore the crap out of Alex.
All right.
The non-Dragon Ball fan you are.
It's true.
Cameras are hot, mics are hot. Yay.
Yeah. Sound speed.
Okay. So give me a quick second to set everything up. And 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go, people. Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk the week's events in Geek for Friday night, January 26th, 2018. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's had an awesome week so far, especially those who watched the amazing Super Saiyan Showdown last night in lieu of the release of Dragon Ball FighterZ, or all of those that actually got in because I didn't realize its release date, but Monster Hunter is also out, so I hope all of you hunters are out there being able to claim all your wonderful gains and your fat loots. It's all going to be awesome for you. But we're here for the podcast to talk the week's events in Geek, and I'm being joined, of course, by my fellow panelists, fellow YouTubers, fellow geeks, fellow awesome guys in general. And if you aren't following their channels or their social networking, what is wrong with you? You should be. And we're going to go ahead and start things off with the Shadow Blazer himself, who has come out of the shadows this evening, this proud evening, to talk a bunch of stuff that isn't probably relevant to what he actually deals with on his YouTube channel. Alex, how you doing?
Doing well. I also have a special friend. It's Chewbacca. I'll say hi, Chewie.
There you go.
Yeah, I've had a nice week overall.
Very cool. So are things back to normal at work and all that?
Yeah, though unfortunately this is the kind of crunch time where they start rolling back all the hours. Life sucks in retail at this time of year, so let's just sort of pick up what I can where I can.
Pretty much. And then we're also being joined by Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, of From the Shelf, Rhapsody in Cinema, Monster Clash, and whatever else he decides to just pick up and film that given day. Stephen Romney, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, although unfortunately, for some reason, this week just decided to be the week where the universe was all too eager to kick my ass.
That's not good.
Yeah, and it's not even like a large cataclysmic events, just a bunch of tiny little things throughout the week that, it's just, I guess the best way to describe it, it's like I'm already down for the pin. It's like the ref is already tapped twice, and he's just taking his sweet time to tap the third time to end the match. And not because, he's waiting. It's just, nope, he just wants to see me squirm. I mean, I'm already underneath the rock. Please just end it.
You've got the special guest referee that hates your guts, and so he's just like, bunk. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for giving me a reference into pro wrestling, because then I can promote my other podcast, Running the Ropes. That works too. And I guess I'll take this as a note, because you actually are going to be coming over to record some wonderful sweetness that is Dragon Ball FighterZ. Maybe I'll pad my stairs just to be safe, so we don't have another accident.
Well, so far the laws of physics aren't out to get me. I mean, I think they accepted the fruit basket I gave them.
Cool.
So I think we're cool, but you never know. I mean, those oranges did look kind of funny.
All right. Well, I mean, if they didn't have a problem, then they didn't have a problem. And if they had mad diarrhea afterwards, they didn't blame you. So that's the bottom line of it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into the stories this week. And we do have a little bit of depressing, but thankfully not too much. K2SO kind of dodged us altogether and didn't give us horrible things that happen on the internet. I mean, there were horrible things that happen on the internet, but they're all laughable. So we're fine tonight. And our top story tonight that we're going to be discussing, and everybody's been talking about it. This is one of the downsides of recording on Friday, is like we are the Johnny come latelys to a lot of these events, because usually like when this stuff happens, it's on, I can literally peg it. It's on Monday or Tuesday. Very rarely we've had something happen like the night before. And therefore we're cutting edge news. So we're going to be go ahead and talk about a little story about a woman named Elle Darby. Now, in case you don't know who Elle Darby is, you will know her very soon, and you will be laughing like the rest of the internet has. Elle Darby is, I want to call her a vlog, like a pro vlogger now on YouTube. She started off as like a fitness channel, and by fitness I mean more like you know how there are booby streamers on Twitch. Well, she was a booty streamer is what I like to call her, because that's basically what she was doing before that. Now she does a bunch of vlogs and likes to call herself a social media influencer. People can't see the air quotes that I'm doing on the podcast, but that's okay. And I guess her and her boyfriend decided to go spend Valentine's Day weekend in Dublin, Ireland. That sounds like fun, guys, right? That sounds like a lot of fun. And they decided that they would check out the local hotels in the area and all of the accommodations there and see if they could work something out, because apparently she had worked out a deal when they went to Universal. I believe it was Florida, was the one that they specifically went to. And basically she worked out a deal where if she got some kind of a discount, I honestly don't think she got even a discount on this one. Maybe she wasn't as popular enough, but for a discount, she basically did a bunch of vlogs advertising the park, advertising the wonderful time that she had and all of the wonderful things that she was doing. So she's like, hey, I will go ahead and do this with the hotels in Dublin, Ireland, and sends out the following email. And I have to read it verbatim. Unless one of you guys has it, please read it, because it is. It's a gem. Go ahead and read it for us, Alex.
Okay. Make it enlarge it per sec. Okay, so the email read, let's see. I'm emailing in regard to the possible collaboration on social media. My name is Redacted. I work as a social media influencer, mainly lifestyle, beauty, and travel based. I have over 87,000 subscribers, as well as 76,000 Instagram followers. My partner and I are planning to come into Dublin for an early Valentine's Day weekend from February 8th to the 12th to explore the area, and I was searching for places to stay. I came across your stunning hotel and would love to feature you in my YouTube videos, dedicated Instagram stories posts to bring traffic to your hotel. Recommend others to book return for free accommodation.
Keep in mind those two words, free accommodation.
Yeah. Last year I worked with Universal Orlando, Florida. It's been amazing for them. Let me know if this is something you'd be interested in doing. I look forward to hearing from you.
So the hotel that she specifically, or one of the hotels she sent this out to, the White Moose Cafe, decided to respond to her. And I will actually go ahead and read the response because I think it's freaking gold. Dear social influencer, I know your name, but apparently it's not important to use names. Keep in mind, this hotel actually did black out a lot of the information, so you're fine with that. Thank you for emailing looking for free accommodation. Free accommodation, people, in return for exposure. It takes a lot of balls to send an email like that, if not much self-respect and dignity. If I let you stay here in return for a feature in your video, who's going to pay the staff here, the staff who look after you? Who's going to pay the housekeepers who clean your room, the waiters who serve you breakfast, the receptionist who checks you in? Who is going to pay for the light and heat you use during your stay, the laundering of your bed sheets, the water rates? Maybe I should tell my staff they will be featured in your video in lieu of receiving payment for work carried out while you're in residence. Lucky for us, we too have a significant social media following on YouTube. Keep in mind, Alex said she had 87,000 subscribers. Here's the cool part. We have 186,000 followers on our 2 Facebook pages, an estimated 80,000 on our Snapchat, 32,000 on Instagram, and a paltry 12,000 on our Twitter. But Jesus Christ, it's in the letter, guys. I would never in a million years ask anyone for anything for free. I also blog a bit, and actually links his website, which is, as far as I'm aware, is another way of saying write stuff on the internet. The above stats do not make me any better than anyone else or afford me the right to not pay for something else everyone else has to pay for. In future, I'd advise that you offer to pay your way like everyone else, and if the hotel in question believes your coverage will help them, maybe they'll give you a complimentary upgrade to a suite. This would show more self-respect on your part, and let's face it, it would be less embarrassing for you. Here's a little video I produced, which you may learn from, and if you haven't watched this video, I will we'll find a way to link this, but it's great. It's hilarious. Really well done on their part. But yeah. So people might be wondering what happened after this. Well, Elle Darby, who got exposed because of all of this, decided to make a video where she just backpedaled the hell out of everything and tried to make this a pity party for her.
Well, to be fair, it's not because she was exposed. It's because people found out that it was her that they were talking about and started flooding her with a lot of negative comments. So it's not that she suddenly backpedaled because of it. It's because a lot of people were giving her crap, and so she had to address it.
Yes, yeah. But in the meantime, she also tried to make herself look better in the video and say, no, here's how I'm... And in particular, what were the 2 words that she put in the email? Free accommodation. She then put in the video that she was just looking for complimentary service or a discount. Okay? That's not what she was asking for because it's in the email. Free accommodation. She wanted to stay there for free. And in return, she was offering advertising that, frankly, their social media has more influence to be able to do. And after that, so we have the response from Elle Darby. In response to this, the White Moose Cafe basically puts out a general email. And also, I believe they got some backlash of their own for doing that. And the White Moose Cafe just put out saying, all bloggers are banned from our business. Following the backlash received after asking an unidentified blogger to pay for a hotel room, I have taken the decision to ban all bloggers from our hotel and cafe. And I'll read the last paragraph, but I'm not going to read everything here. But the sense of entitlement is just too strong in the blogging community. Jeez, I'm getting ads every time I try to bring this up. And the nastiness, hitsy fits, and general hate displayed after one of your members was not granted her request for a freebie is giving your whole industry a bad name. I never thought we would be inundated with negative reviews for the simple reason that somebody was required to pay for goods received or services rendered. Okay? So basically, that's where it all ended. But this has been a wonderful little gem that we've all been able to follow for a majority of this week. And now I'm just going to go ahead and open it up to the panel. So I'll get into my opinions later. You guys can already kind of tell with the level of snark that I'm putting in here. So let's go ahead and start with Stephen Romney. What's your take on this whole situation?
I'm probably going to be the unpopular opinion here, but honestly, I mean, I get it. They could have basically the way that the hotel has conducted itself. It's not very professional. I'm looking at their social media feed, then this is just vindictive. I mean, literally, all they had to say in private was, no, thank you, we're not interested, and move on.
And here's the thing that's going to shock you. We agree.
Yeah, and the thing is, this person, Paul Stenson, who runs the White Moose Cafe apparently has taken it upon himself to go on this crusade against all bloggers. It's just literally he just had to say no and move on.
I honestly think like she caught him on the wrong day. That's what happened. Like, because if you look at a lot of this stuff, the level of snark that he's displaying in not only in the video but also in the responses that he gave, it can only be explained that he just got up on the wrong side of the bed that day, and he was having enough crap thrown at him, and then he saw that, and that made him snap.
Yeah, but that still is not an excuse. Say, even if it's like on a bad day.
I'm just saying that's probably what produced this.
Well, yeah, just looking at the way that he's conducted himself, no. Especially considering the way he responded, because it not even was just with the blogger, he also posted a public response because his advertisements on his website said, oh, the only 5 Michelin star restaurant on planet Earth. And that the problem is, for those who don't know, Michelin, not the tire company, is a company that rates restaurants. So when you hear about 5-star restaurants, they're the company that gives out those stars. And when Michelin said, hey, we never evaluated your restaurant, stop using our name in your advertising, he decided to get all vindictive and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to just change this. And I'm just like, no, this is not how you run a business. This is what you do if you, it literally is the case of, okay, clearly you're taking the PewDiePie Logan Paul approach by rattling the cage and hoping that will get you business.
Yeah.
Even though it just makes you look like an ass. So as much as I understand why they turned it down, the way he's handled himself, no. This is not someone standing up for their businesses. This is someone being an ass when really you could have just said no, walked away, and that would have been the end of it.
The sad reality is, and I forgot to read the PS at the end. He did. He said the answer is no.
Yeah, but
but it should have just been that.
Yeah, it should have just been that. Should have been done privately. And instead of trying to basically engage a bunch of people who are rightfully calling this person out for the way they've conducted themselves. And so, honestly, I mean,
and on top of that, here's the bottom line. Yes, I kind of get that he's a businessman and he's trying to make sure that people understand that this, because I can understand it from his point of view. Like, if you're going to make this kind of an advertisement, or if I was going to make this kind of an advertisement or make this kind of an offer, the last place that I would go is the hotel business. And the reason I would is because the hotel business is expensive as crap already. And part of the reason why is because of all of the stuff that goes into it, all of the stuff that he actually explains in the email. I'm not saying that he handled it the right way, but like if I were in L's position, I wouldn't be going to a hotel. I'd be going to like a t-shirt maker and saying like, I will be more than happy to advertise your stuff in return for maybe a discount on trying to get some t-shirts made, kind of thing.
Yeah, but to be fair, a precedent was set given that she was able to advertise with Universal Orlando. So it does stand to reason that she probably would have assumed she had the kind of clout that hotels would look for. Granted, this seems to be a much smaller establishment, so maybe her mistake was trying one of the smaller hotels instead of one of the larger chains. But honestly, I understand where he's coming from. I'm not on board with the whole, oh yeah, like it's funny, it's silly. No, that this guy is an asshole. He plain and simple. This guy's an asshole. He's conducting himself poorly. And honestly, it's just the classic kids of, oh, look at those millennials beat bullshit that we keep dealing from time to time by people who don't acknowledge the fact that they're the reason that our economy is down the tubes.
Well, so I'm a step further because I'm actually going to say that everybody is an asshole in this whole thing, because I agree with you. Paul Stenson did not handle this properly. He should have just, because I mean, she does make a good point in the video. Like even though her letter is clearly stated as hi there, it's not written out to Paul directly. She was writing it under the assumption that it was going to be in confidence, not confidentiality, L. You were hoping that it was going to be in confidence and that you'd be able to keep this behind the scenes. And Paul didn't do that. I think it would have been better if he kept it behind the scenes and said, the answer is no, and here's simply why. And then at that point, he might have been able to work something out for a discount. Or at that point saying, if you pay full accommodation here, maybe we'll like do what exactly what he said in the email. We'll upgrade you to a suite and we'll give you extra treatment so you say good things about us. The bottom line is, though, is that while he was also being an asshole, L was also being an asshole, because the bottom line is, there's no way on earth, like I said, if I was going to advertise this stuff, the last place I would go is to one of the most expensive industries out there.
Yeah, But again, Adam, on that point, she does run travel blogging, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
she would go for hotels.
You know what? I'm not even going to accept that because I've seen her travel blogs, and they're not informative by any stretch. It's her basically sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, this was the greatest thing ever," and that's not informative. That doesn't tell people like go to this specific hotel. That I've seen travel blogs that have been done 10 times better than this. I'm sorry, her influence is not there.
Be that as it may, we're not questioning her influence. We're just.
I am actually kind of, yes.
Well, okay. Hold on. Okay. Be that as it may, the point I'm trying to make is it's not regarding her influence or not. We can think about that later as a different subject here, right? The point is you're saying she shouldn't have bothered going after the hotels, but we're saying
she shouldn't have put in the free accommodation.
Yeah. Okay.
She should never have put in there that I want to be able to do this for free.
Yes, but again, that's another issue. You're saying she shouldn't have gone after the hotel, period. And we're saying, yes, but she runs a travel blog, so it makes sense to... No,
by your argument, you're saying that she shouldn't have written the email in the first place? No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay. Well, that's what you're saying.
I'm saying with the letter, it should not have said for free accommodation. It should have said, we'll be able to pay our fare and we would love to be able to work with you. We would love to be able to say positive things about your hotel. And then at that point, go from there. Don't immediately set demands of here's what I expect. Instead, put yourself out there and say you're willing to take a risk. Are you willing to take a risk with me? That's how I would have approached it, kind of thing. That's not how she approached it.
Yeah, that much is true.
And frankly, and again, like I also will question her influence on the matter because I honestly believe her 87,000 YouTube subscribers didn't come from her travel blogs. It came from her booty streaming. So, because I've seen those videos too, and I have a feeling that all of her 87,000 subscribers probably are young adult males.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So that's the bottom line.
I didn't do any research on her channel, so I had no clue beyond what it just said in the article that she did beauty and travel blogging.
Yeah, to say she's a travel radio show is way beyond that. But again, I'm not here to just beat her over the head. I also disagree with the hotel. My viewpoint is that this business relationship could have gone over a lot more amicably on both sides. And giving examples of like, if this was me, this is how I would do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would, and especially with the hotel industry, where asking for a discount alone is already pretty hard to be able to make work, because they are pretty expensive, especially during certain points in the year. They're very difficult to be able to do. I don't know how well visited Dublin is in the Valentine's Day kind of bracket, but it might as well be. So at that point, this might be a time where they really do need that money.
Yeah.
Because they might have to go through like a 2 or 3 month slump in between that. So but my viewpoint is that everybody's an asshole in this whole situation. I'll admit I giggled at all the snark because I giggle at snark. But the bottom line is I just don't see a winner in any part of this situation. Especially in the fact that she got negative reception because of that email, and then in turn through more negative reception at the hotel through her video. Yeah, it's a bad situation all around. Anyway, Alex, go ahead and give us your opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm pretty much standing with where Steven's at, and that the guy is not conducting himself like a proper businessman, especially, a lot of businessmen, a lot of business owners, at least they try to be upstanding. They try to be engageful with just their local area and community alone. And this only kind of sends out a bad reputation to your Chamber of Commerce.
And in an industry where, like in the hotel industry, reputation is a big deal. So I can already tell you, he's hurt himself just because of from his first email.
Yeah, this is like the kind of thing you would see on like Kitchen Nightmares or Hotel Hell, those Gordon Ramsay reality shows. It's like, that's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. Not to mention, he shouldn't have posted the email at all. Two, when he did, he really, really did a shitty job at trying to redact the information, black out the name, because anybody could just turn up their monitor brightness and see exactly. That's how all the names got out.
Let's be frank on this one. It would have been better if he hadn't written the email at all. It would have been better if maybe he just said, F it. I'm going to go to my favorite coffee place for like 5 minutes. Front desk has it. Gone and calmed himself down, and then he would have been fine.
Yeah.
And then at that point, he could have calmly said, "Dear L, the answer's no."
Yes. Either should have just not replied or just should have said, "No, thank you. We're not interested," and be done with it. I think he's hoping. It's ironic he's bitching all about, it's like Steven said, he's trying to be all like, look, I'm trying to take a stand against all these entitled bloggers, and here the only reason he's doing this, is so he himself can be viral.
Which, to be frank, entitlement bloggers do exist. They just don't exist in that great a number. I will admit that, and I fight entitlement regularly. They just don't exist as regularly as they think. And even I'll agree with Stephen Romney. The assumption about millennials all being inherently lazy isn't entirely true. I've met some millennials that have some, in my opinion, better work ethic than even me. And even my generation had that problem. Even Alex's generation and Romney's generation had that problem, kind of thing.
Well, technically, I qualify as a millennial. That's why I take such umbrage with it.
Yeah. So
you guys, I would also count you guys in the 90s generation too. So that's me.
With basically the best way to look at it with millennials, it's not like a clear not decades thing. With generations, best frame looking at basically end of the 80s to the early 2000s. So if you're under 30, you technically qualify as a millennial. And then now the generation after that, the ones that are currently in school, they're Generation Z.
Yes. So at that point, it's like I understand the assumptions don't even help on that matter. And the fact that he took the fight to one person. If this had been a string of people that had done it, then maybe he would have had a leg to stand on. But no, this was one person that he singled out, kind of thing. But again, on that point of view, I also don't think L handled that situation that well either. I understand her retaliation, but I also think that when you read, because the whole email reeks of I'm writing this general email and sending it out to 6 different places. And again, another thing I would have done differently is I would have written everything individually, because again, hotels have reputation, and I would look up stuff for the hotel, and I would individually say, like, "Dear this person who manages all of the stuff for this hotel, thank you so much for taking the time to read my letter. I am this person. I have this much influence, and I would really like to be able to do some business with you. I'm more than willing to pay full price and all that. I'm coming from this day to this day, and I would love to be able to do some for no other reason. I would want the permission period to be able to record in there, because here's the thing. Some hotels actually don't give you that. So at that point, I would literally look them in the eye and go, I would just like permission. And at that point, if you guys want to give me a discount or whatever, that is completely up to you. But I want to be able to do this for you if you're willing. That's how I would approach it. So I also am not on L's side, because I think she could have approached this better as a small business owner herself, kind of thing. It's one of those things where I, again, like to employ the golden rule. Treat people as you would like to be treated. L, did you treat people how you would like to be treated? Not really. Paul, did you treat people how you'd like to be treated? Not really. But hey, thanks for the snark. It really helped me get my spirits up this week. What? I like snark.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's pretty much all we could go into on this one. We've given our opinions, so let's go ahead and get into the next story here. And this one's pretty big, actually. When I saw it, I was a little not shocked, but it was an interesting move. Like it's one of those things where you look at the chessboard and go, "All right, that's the Winstonian gambit. I like that," kind of thing. And that is that Twitch is working out a deal to broadcast exclusive content from top Disney YouTubers. Now, the ones in particular that they bring up, I actually do like the lineup that they're thinking here. So a total of 4 YouTubers with a combined total of over 44 million subscribers, no less, are involved in the deal, and each will manage their own channels on Twitch. So what I'm guessing is, I think these guys actually did have a bit of a presence on Twitch, but maybe not as much as people would like to admit. And in this case, they're going to have a little bit more of a presence, and are now going to be part of what's being called the Disney Digital Network, which is formerly Maker Studios. So we've already seen a lot of stuff happen last year with Maker kind of narrowing down who they'll cover in their blanket of coverage. And I'm looking for another word and I just can't think of one. And in particular, they have chosen Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Strawberry17, and Luzu Games. So these guys will live stream and create exclusive video on demand content for Twitch. As part of a multi-year partnership, some of this content will debut as of this article, and that was the 18th. So they literally have content going up. So the first thing I want to get into, because a listener brought this up too, and wanted to know our opinion on the picks that they're advertising. So in particular, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Strawberry17, and Luzu Games. What do we think about these guys representing Maker Studios, as opposed to, you know, previous people who have represented it, like PewDiePie? No thoughts?
Oh, looks like Rodney's mic is dead, so I guess I'll go ahead and field this one.
Go ahead and go, Alex.
Okay, so, you know, for Twitch to pick up people like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, I can't speak for the others because I really don't know them, but I can tell you at least I'm sure they're plenty big, but I just don't know them personally. But I can definitely say that, you know, Markiplier and Jacksepticeye both have very strong followings. Both have been ingrained with YouTube for quite a long time,
and frankly, probably have a little bit more of a solid, good reputation, both with YouTube as well as with their fan bases. There's been granted, Markiplier kind of goes into the level of silly that PewDiePie would, but I actually think he handles it a lot more tastefully, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So in that terms, I think in terms of like being able to split your audience, I think this has always been kind of one of the problems that a lot of like all these video sites have had, you know, that have popped up in the wake of YouTube, be it Veo, Dailymotion. It's always hard to kind of split your audience between these two different platforms, because with the majority of your content being consumed there, obviously there's nothing saying that they're going to outright jump ship from YouTube and go right to Twitch. But I think in terms of people who are really big, like Markiplier, who can at least have enough sway to probably start kind of swinging some of their audience in these two different directions.
Yeah. So I'm actually taking this time to look up both Luzu Games and Strawberry17. Just give me a second. I'm actually just bringing up Luzu right now. So Strawberry17, it looks like she's by majority a gamer, vlogger, and also does a little bit of cooking on her channel. So really that just sounds to me like Dodger, but with less gaming. Okay, or yeah, I would say Dodger games a little bit more than it looks like Strawberry does. So that's kind of the content that she provides. And also it all looks very, this is going to sound like an insult, but it's not, very Dodger-esque, where it's all cutesy and all lovey-dovey and I want to bring you all in kind of thing. Luzu, it looks like, is strictly gaming. It looks like he maybe does some sketches in the meantime, but yeah, he looks like he's pretty much a solid Let's Play live streamer. So there you go. So that's the content that we're looking at, or the channels that we're looking at. And again, it looks like they've got much more wholesome content compared to PewDiePie, Logan Paul, all that stuff. So now that we've kind of assessed that, and Romney, is your mic back on?
Yeah, it's back on.
Okay, so give us your opinions on the YouTubers that are being covered here.
Well, honestly, I see this as more of a play by Disney to try to diversify, because as we've seen with recent events, YouTube has become, at least it's appearing to be, a little less stable. And so Disney is, or at least the Disney Digital Network, is probably hedging its bets and thinking, okay, let's take some of the talent that has the strongest influence, the largest subscriber pool, that basically these are our bargaining chips, and try to cut some deals with some of these other studios in the event that things go, well, to crap on YouTube. And so I kind of see it similar to what Rooster Teeth did, where it's simply the Disney Digital Network trying to diversify where they host their content, since it's getting clearer that they can't put all of their eggs in one basket in order to survive what other upheavals we're expecting from the online video industry. And so that's more what I'm seeing this, is that it's a simple business strategy where they're thinking, let's take 4 of our most popular people under our banner, negotiate with Twitch to come up with some sort of a deal, and see how it goes. And so it just seems to be a case of, hey, YouTube is kind of going a little bit crazy. Let's start cutting deals with some of these other providers.
What's also interesting about this, and this is kind of where I want to go next with the story, is that not only will they be doing their live stream content, their gaming content as usual, but they also mention as part of this partnership, they will do exclusive on-demand content for Twitch. What that sounds to me a lot like, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is basically Markiplier gets to make Scare PewDiePie kind of thing. He gets to choose, because the way I understood Scary PewDiePie, and even with MatPat's Game Lab, they were brought in for the conceptualizing of the show and what they wanted to do with it. So it sounds to me that like the same deal would be offered to Markiplier, Strawberry, and them. And so my next question is, okay, what kind of content, like exclusive content, do we actually see being offered? Because with Twitch, it's Amazon money, so already we can tell it's gonna be fairly good budget. But what content do we actually see these people providing? Markiplier, I think it's very easy to figure that out, because I think he's been setting himself up for a while now to do something like a Whose Line Is It Anyway kind of thing, where he does a lot of improv. Because here's the thing, unlike Logan Paul, who tries to go into a regular everyday situation and chaos it the F right up, Markiplier's in more controlled situations and actually tries to do more controlled reactions like that. So at that point, I could see like a oh crap, I'm not even thinking of the word right now. Crap, like quick wits. I'm an actor. I don't know what this word is. Improv, thank you. More of an improv show. I don't know what Jack would do. Jack's got gaming and he's got music. I know that he likes a lot, like he used to do bands and stuff like that. So I don't know what Jack would do, but that would be my guess as to Markiplier, and I don't know anything about either Luzu or Strawberry, so I'm not even going to guess what they're going to try and do. Maybe Strawberry will do something like a talk show.
They said Strawberry kind of also just like some cooking stuff, right?
So yeah, so like a cooking talk show kind of thing.
Yeah, so maybe she'd do like something engaging with cooking. I imagine they'll find something either in their realm or in their domain what people follow them for. I don't know. I mean, Grant. Well, I guess Maker has never had a problem with it before, but I guess most of them would probably just continue business as usual. They just would kind of migrate some of their content to Twitch and make some exclusives.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Because again, I don't think that I think they'll still do their streaming and all that, but part of the deal that's the most interesting to me is exclusive on-demand content, and that almost makes me wonder if Twitch is trying to counter YouTube in doing this and showing like we can take care of these creators better and we can create better environments for them to be able to thrive. And I'll admit, it actually surprises me that it's Maker Studios doing this under their new banner.
Well, that's because it's because Disney has the money that they can take that kind of risk as opposed to some of the other.
Oh, no. But by that, what I mean is like, are they done with YouTube? Have they just officially decided, screw it?
Not necessarily. It just probably means that they're just trying to diversify and trying to expand their foothold rather than resting their laurels solely on YouTube, which is something that even Bernie Burns of Rooster Teeth has explained was what allowed Rooster Teeth to eventually get to where it is that they started on a YouTube, or technically they started on Screw Attack, but then they slowly branched out until they got large enough to have their own streaming service.
And somebody actually just brought up in our live chat, so a gaming game show, and my response is simply, you can't out Nick Arcade. Just can't do it. No, they probably do something. Actually, you know what? That's what Jack needs to do. I think Jack would work really well if they did like a gaming game show kind of thing. Jack would be perfect for that. Mark can go do his improv. That would be perfect for Jack. What about you, Romney? What content do you actually see these channels doing?
Well, honestly, as someone who doesn't really watch Let's Players, I don't follow any of them, so I don't really have any idea what they would do, since I don't really follow like the kind of content. So I'm not as well versed in their personalities, but again, I'm looking at this just purely from the business perspective of Twitch seeing the blood in the water and thinking, oh, hey, YouTube is starting to falter a bit. Let's try to cut in on this. And it's basically the free market at work. When one service starts crapping up, others emerge to try to poach people who are dissatisfied.
Huh. I just thought about an interesting idea. So we have like legitimate news outlets doing gaming news stuff. You know, like where they'll bring the devs on and actually talk about the games. GameStop does it, I think, in conjunction with IGN. I think Polygon has their own kind of thing. What if they took these four and tried to do that from a more casual end? Almost, I don't want to say like Attack of the Show, because Attack of the Show was still very professional in the industry kind of thing, but I almost wonder, like, with those names, could you do something a little bit more casual based and people could get to know the developers instead of just the developers showing off their content? Kind of like what happens when Conan O'Brien decides to advertise a game.
That is possible, and no doubt content like that has probably been discussed or is being discussed between the Disney Digital Network and Twitch. It's just kind of a case of, do you have only one of the four do it? Do they try to have the four together? And if so, is there a guarantee that they'll actually all be able to work together? Or is it, are we going to have a clash of egos? It's probably something that they've discussed and are no doubt going to discuss in the future.
I think they're all pretty much based out of California, except for Jack. I'm not sure about Luzu. I'm looking him up right now, but I think Strawberry's based out in California. Yeah, Luzu might also be, but yeah, Jack would be the outlier in that one. Because he's based out in Ireland, and I don't see him moving here just to take on something like this. Nothing against people, but I think he likes where he is. So
yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about online video. You don't have to travel all the way to one side of the US or another to actually stand a chance anymore. And
although I guess he could be open to it. I mean, he did do the Grumps stuff. Like when the Grumps came to Ireland, and then he eventually did like his own tour, and they sponsored it. But yeah, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I'm coming at it, because I don't follow any of them. I don't really follow Let's Players in general, so I'm not familiar with it. It's just
I don't follow Let's Players. Alex, he doesn't like us.
We're so crushed.
How could this happen to us? He does Let's Plays with us, and he doesn't want to follow.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. He does the occasional Let's Play with us.
Yeah, this is true because he does Gaming with the Geeks.
Yeah, but the way I see it, it's just simply, and again, because it may not be these four YouTubers specifically. It's just more a case that Maker or Disney Digital Network, that's going to take some getting used to. Yeah. But basically, it's simply the companies that have the pull, that have the clout, trying to decide, okay, is YouTube our future, or should we try cutting a deal with these other companies to see how things go? Because Twitch is starting to get pretty competitive in recent years. Yeah. So it's all the more reason why a multi-YouTuber content creator network like the Disney Digital Network would want to diversify.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Twitch is basically playing that competitive streak where they have their own corner on specific stuff, as well as branching into newer content. And Twitch has always had shoutcasting. Shoutcasting and esports has always been a staple or a mainstay of Twitch. YouTube has had its own kind of niches that it's tried to provide to. The fact that Twitch is now trying to step out and trying to do even more content that is mirroring YouTube really does tell me that Maker probably doesn't have the most confidence in YouTube being around, kind of like, everybody else right now. And on top of that, they may be looking at Twitch and saying, yeah, Twitch is the future kind of thing. All right. So final thoughts before we move on into the next story, because I think that pretty much covers everything on that. And we look forward to see what content they provide. Markiplier, please don't be like PewDiePie or Logan Paul. I'm just saying we don't have to cross that threshold.
Well, the difference is Markiplier actually knows how to control himself.
Yes. Keep that, Mark. Keep it. So the next story that we have tonight is actually something from way early in the week. And I was surprised to see that our buddy, the Shadow Blazer, wasn't the one presenting the story. It was our buddy, Aldo Gomez. Thanks, Aldo. And so at that point, we have an awesome announcement. Square Enix has hired the mastermind behind the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, Yuji Naka. Alex, how do you feel about this? He's not working for Sega no more.
He hasn't been working for Sega for over 10 years, so...
Yeah, but now he's working for Square Enix.
This,
you don't play them Final Fantasy. You don't play them video games from them.
I've probably played something Square at some point, but...
We've done Tomb Raider.
Yeah, okay. And I've seen some... I've seen some Square Enix produced, sponsored, whatever, anime.
Chrono Trigger.
So...
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah,
which one? Xenogears.
Xenogears, yes. Okay, although the rest of the Xenos don't fall into that.
Yeah, those are Monolith. So yeah, got some Square.
Everything is Monolith, but after that, for Xenosaga, it was Atari that owned it, and then
Xenosaga is Namco.
Yeah, sorry, Bandai Namco, and then this one it's Nintendo. So Xenoblade is working with Nintendo. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so yeah, it is Monolith. Monolith is the developer. Anyway, Never mind. So, well,
yeah, Monolith is the dev.
Yeah. This did take me by surprise. I mean, I know Yuji Naka hasn't been with Sega since 2006. That's when he left the studio. What I have known, he has had his own independent studio since then called Prope or Prope or however it's pronounced. And this is where I'm really surprised because I'm wondering, okay, so is he going to be employed with Square Enix and still run his little studio? Is his little studio going to be, is he stepping aside from his little studio and letting other management take it over? Is it going to be absorbed into Square Enix now?
Yeah, because they've got Tokyo RPG Factory now.
Yeah, so I have no clue. I could see them because Probe's specialty has mostly been a lot of mobile titles, a lot of little games like that.
They got some Digimon games under them, but yeah.
So I could see this as Square's attempt to really branch a little more into the mobile industry. If they haven't already, I got a feeling they kind of have. But this is just bringing in someone who really knows the game development cycle of mobile pretty well, because that's where his specialty's been over the last pretty much decade.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, yes, he is the mastermind behind the Sonic franchise, but I think he had a hand in other Sonic franchises, didn't he?
Well,
not Sonic, but other franchises.
Yeah, he's one of the original developers for Phantasy Star.
So he's done RPGs.
Yeah, he's done quite a bit. I can't name everything he's ever done with Sega. He did Rystar with Sonic Team. That was kind of squished. That was another platformer that was like squished between
action platformer. So platformers, action platformers, RPGs. He's done a lot of that stuff. I want to say, was he the guy behind? No, he's not. He's not the guy behind Shenmue. Because then at that point he'd have open world experience, but no, the different guy. But I mean, already like this to you, is this a good move or a bad move on Square Enix's part?
I guess it could be a good. I'm just and he also did the Nights into Dreams franchise. That's also his.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So 3D platformer, 3D collector.
Yeah. So, this is just fascinating to me to see that Naka has been picked up again, just because I know he still had that studio of his. I'm curious where that's going to go, and I'm curious what he's going to do for Square. Yeah, I'm kind of starting to think he'll probably be very deep in their mobile division, because that's what Probe has been doing for the last few years. I'll find it really, really funny and kind of ironic if he ends up working in some capacity on a Final Fantasy game.
It's not entirely impossible. I mean, they're still doing ports to phones, as well as I could also see him being brought into a number of other mobile projects that they're talking about. Remember, Square Enix still has this big initiative where they want to try and bring a bunch of their franchises to mobile. I think they still have a Hitman game that they need to get out into the mobile market.
Well, I thought they already had one called Hitman Go a while back, didn't they?
Is it released?
I thought it was out already. I'm not sure, though.
So, because I know that they had Hitman and they had Kingdom Hearts Kai, but I don't know if that actually ever came here. I think they decided against it. And what was the other franchise that was going to get a Go moniker on?
I think it was Tomb Raider, but they called it Lara Croft Go.
Lara Croft Go, yeah, that's right. So he might be brought in for that. The other thing that's not helpful in this is that, according to the article, and I've looked around too, we don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's been brought on. That's great. We don't know what he's working on. And from what I can tell, for those people who actually follow job postings, Square Enix is one of those few companies that does keep it very close to the vest. They don't necessarily broadcast like when they need somebody. And the other thing to consider too is, he might be brought on, but he might not necessarily be a game director right off the bat. They might bring him on as like a creative director or something like that.
Yeah. I would think something he'd want to stipulate when getting the job would be that he would want to be a little more hands-on, because that is part of the big reason why he left Sega. He was tired of just being constantly in a producer role, and he was also constantly tired of working on Sonic the Hedgehog all the time. He wanted to do other things. So I would feel like he get this opportunity with Square. I would think he would take it on the opportunity that he could be a little more hands-on in creating projects and being back in the field, because obviously he's got a strong programming history, and he's got a strong producing history. Also, I just noticed he made a fishing resort game for the Wii. What is this man's obsession with fishing? I swear.
Because I think he's also worked on Sega Bass Fishing too.
Yeah, and of course Sonic Adventure, which gave us Big the Cat fishing.
Sometimes you just gotta fish. Sometimes you need the piece of fishing.
I guess so.
I like our live chat here. He's going to work on the Final Fantasy VII remake and Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, I don't think they're going to bring him on to Kingdom Hearts, but that 7 remake, maybe.
They'll do the fishing minigame.
Well, you never know. They may make I could see maybe a Kingdom Hearts spinoff, especially when you consider the mechanic of Dream Drop Distance and Nights and kind of the whole flying through levels. And stuff
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
he could make a. And I hope this never happens, but this sounds completely right for Kingdom Hearts. Is like, people have this love-hate relationship with the Gummy Ship. What if he made a mobile game that was entirely Gummy Ship?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, the way I'd see it, like, out on the cheap, you basically would have like a kid-friendly version of R-Type. So
yeah, pretty much. And frankly, I think he could actually do a shmup. I think he'd have the know-how for it. So overall, I think it's fairly safe to say, Alex, you're excited that he's working with Square Enix.
Yeah, I don't know if excited is the word I'd use. It's not like
you'll be excited when he announces what he's working on.
Yeah, I'm really just curious at this point. Neither excited, not concerned, just curious and interested and intrigued to see what he's going to do for Square.
You're happy he has work.
Yeah, I know he's been having work, because again, I know he's had his little studio, which has mostly been mobile based, so I haven't paid much attention. And a couple of Digimon games. I just hope I don't think this is necessarily his fault, but I mean, his studio developed it. I just hope whatever it is turns out way better than that Digimon Fighter game.
And you know what? If he worked on Phantasy Star, I have no problem with Pro being brought into Tokyo RPG Factory to work on stuff. Yeah, because the stuff that's coming out of that already, I'm loving. Like, the only thing I haven't tried out is Lost Sphere. And it's only because I hadn't heard of it until now, and I really want to try it out because it sounds very I Am Setsuna-esque. So, Romney, your thoughts on Yuji Naka joining Square Enix?
Well, I mean, it's cool, but I'm kind of with Alex in the case of, I'm not really excited. I'm just curious to see what's going to come out of this new hire. What is he actually going to be working on with Square?
Yep.
But at least in recent years, Square is at least starting to get to the approach of, okay, we can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. We'll have our established franchises, but we need to inject some new blood here and there.
And in fact, what they're trying to do, and I actually do like this approach because it's more of a Blizzard-esque kind of deal, but on Japan's end, is they're allowing for themselves to, because people will remember Final Fantasy 15 took forever to come out here. It was a 10+ year project. What they're trying to do is bring in a bunch of other studios who will produce content more regularly, so that then they can work on their flagship franchises for 6 to 10 years, and it's not going to be that bad for people.
Yep. As well as trying to
the wait time won't be horrible.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is to try to cater to niches that they don't necessarily have, because that's another important thing because again, it's the same thing where Blizzard, they're more known primarily for MMOs, so they figured, okay, well, let's try getting in the shooter market with Overwatch. Let's try getting into the MOBA market with Heroes of the Storm.
Well, and before that, they were the RTS guys. And so at that point, like when they announced that they were going to make an MMO, there was like, you're the RTS guys. What are you doing? And you're exactly right. People kind of expected they would go into shooters. They were big fans of it, but they didn't know if they could make them. And Square Enix has that same problem. They've been making RPGs for most of their career, or for most of their business life. Now they need to actually step in and show that they can make other games, or at least they can support teams that can make other great games.
Because they were primarily known, for the longest time, they were known for mainly RPGs and subpar action games, both before and after Final Fantasy. Bouncer.
Any action game has a little bit of a problem. That and they tried to do racing games. That didn't work out so well for them either.
Yeah, and mystery dungeon games, which, well, they at least had better success, mainly because they had things like Dragon Quest and Chocobos to catapult those to success. But even then, those are only for the really hardcore gamers.
This just in, Yuji Naka is working on the Final Fantasy VII Remake Chocobo Racing mobile game.
Hey, they made it. They literally made a mobile game based on the bike chase scene from Final Fantasy VII. So
bike and the snowboard.
So yeah,
I'm saying full 3 now.
Yeah, so basically the whole it could be a joke, but you know Square is going to consider doing that. So,
or in favor of the fishing aesthetic, he works on the submarine minigame.
Maybe. I mean, given that they literally made a whole VR expansion dedicated to fishing, I'm guessing Yuji Naka must have seen that and he's just like, let me work on that, please.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. He just loves fishing. I don't know why you have a problem with that, Alex.
Because Big the Cat trauma.
Well, we all had that. So yeah, there you go.
It was not a windy and a sunny day for us gamers.
And you didn't have the Dreamcast fishing controller. That made it worse. Yes, I had the Dreamcast fishing controller. I bought it because I thought that was the only way you could play through Big the Cat. I didn't know better. But yeah, the main thing that I'm trying to point out here, guys, is that I'm kind of where Romney and Alex are. I love the fact that he's hired, but until he actually announces what he's working on, I'm not necessarily all that. I'm interested to see what he possibly could do. That's why I like the fact that we spend so much time kind of detailing his resume and what Yuji Naka has been able to do for the industry. So at that point, people can have kind of that broad expectation of what he might be working on. I have a feeling Square Enix knows what they want him to work on, but they're not willing to announce it just yet, which I'm okay with. I'm again that gamer who can wait, because I've been a Square Enix fan for so long. I could wait 6 to 10 years and be okay. I'll play other games in the meantime. So let's go ahead and move on into the next story that we have. Congratulations to Yuji Naka, by the way. And I'd just like to start off with this simple thing. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
How's your PC doing?
Holding up pretty well.
No problems with the graphics card?
Nope, everything's hunky-dory.
That's good, because I can't afford to buy you a new one.
I didn't think so.
Yes, so people have been following this for a while, and I've been looking for a way to be able to do this properly, but if you're looking to get a graphics card right now, it is not a good market, and it's not a good idea. Just not, period. End of story. What if we go get the super cheap one? Nope. Nothing. Because unfortunately, because graphic card prices have skyrocketed because GPUs are used effectively at mining cryptocurrency. So what you're now looking at is, I want to say some of these, because I have the models. I didn't pay this much, but then again, I bought 2-year-old versions of those models. So for example, if you have an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070, and let's just say for the sake of argument, you paid $299.99. Today's street price is triple that. It's $900 for a 1070. That's where we're at, people. It's not a good time to be a guy who builds his own PCs. It really isn't. And even the most cutting edge GeForce cards right now are almost double what their asking price used to be. So the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 Ti is roughly worth about $700. Its street price is almost $1,400. So I hope nobody needed to upgrade their graphics cards anytime soon, because I don't see this being solved anytime soon.
Yeah, to kind of explain the reason for this jump, you see, what cryptocurrency is, they kind of explain, Bitcoin, but to kind of explain the concept, with currency that we have in the real world, at least IRL, we have paper money. And the best way to describe it, it is fiat money, which basically it's worth a certain amount as dictated by the government, but it has no financial value backing it. Cryptocurrency kind of takes it to the next level where it is basically data. It's data that is bought, sold, exchanged for goods and services, both the legal and illegal kind, depending on which aspects of the internet you like to explore. And the way that the currency is generated is through data mining. Now, that's the simplest way I can understand it because it varies from currency to currency, whether you're getting Bitcoin or Dragon Coin or Ether Coin. My older brother had a lot of money invested in cryptocurrency a while back, so I've heard this lecture several times. The best way to look at cryptocurrency, it's like imagine that there is a giant ledger that is accessible to everyone in the world that literally logs every single transaction. So say I wanted to buy a game console from Adam. If it was done IRL, we would exchange money. There wouldn't really be any record. Whereas if I used a cryptocurrency, it would say Romney paid this much cryptocurrency to this person in exchange for this. And that would be on record for the whole world to see. Everyone would know, okay, this transaction took place.
Yep.
And that's more or less what cryptocurrency is basically digital currency. It has no tangible form. It is basically, you're literally trading ones and zeros.
Yeah, roughly. And because of that, we now have Alex just put it in the live chat perfectly, hyperinflation of graphics cards, which are essential elements if you're going to build your own custom PC. Now, we did actually get a question of whether or not this is going to affect the custom PC makers. I do think it will. I also think that this is going to affect companies like Alienware. Because if the price has to be raised for the little guy, it also has to be raised for the big companies too.
Yep, because if it costs more to bring in materials to make your product, you're naturally going to have to find a way to make those ends meet. And part of the reason why it's getting so crazy is because, well, when a bunch of people found out about Bitcoin, they started trying to invest in it, and then the bubble burst. So now you've got a bunch of people investing in a bunch of other different cryptocurrencies. The other two that have kind of risen to prominence have been Ether Coin and Dragon Coin, which both work kind of on the similar blockchain design. And so that's kind of why these graphic cards are being bought en masse, is because you've got people trying to jump on the next big cryptocurrency before it either explodes or peters out.
And I've already had a number of people friends ask me when this bubble, this hyperinflation is going to stop. I honestly couldn't tell you guys. It looks like it's here for the long haul. Granted, here's the thing: the computer industry I think it's still safe to say the computer industry, along with everything that is invested with it, changes about hourly. So we could see changes in this. I just don't see them happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
So at that point, make sure your PCs are going to be up and running for a good long while, because
especially with the cryptocurrency craze, it works the same way as any other currency market, whether you're investing in the dollar, in euros, in pesos, or the various other currencies around the world. It works very much the same way, where the value of a currency goes up, but then it can also easily and sharply go down. It's like the stock market, but if someone changed the speed setting from walking pace to African swallow. Thumbs up if you actually understood that reference, people from the 90s.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but that's
African or a European swallow?
Well, mine was even more obscure. I was going for a SimCity reference because that's how the speeds.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's how the speeds are dictated. You have walking speed and then the various animals, and the fastest setting in SimCity is African swallow.
Yep.
And so, but that's how it is with cryptocurrency. It's like when you're trading, and basically it's a speculation market. You're speculating on how valuable a certain currency is going to be. Some will crash or go through upheavals like Bitcoin. Some will end up doing really well, and people will try to buy into it because it's doing well, like Dragon Coin. But as more people buy into it, it gets more and more expensive, meaning that you also deal with the hyperinflation that Alex mentioned.
Yeah.
And as a result, that's going to have a ripple effect on the cost of these graphic cards. So much so that even companies have said, hey, maybe don't sell these to people who are data miners. Try prioritizing the gamers. But, well, that didn't
they've already kind of tried to do that, and I'm kind of thankful that they did it. I didn't see it. it's not going to help that much, but I guess if that's what they want to do, the bottom line is, guys, and I don't think we could get too much into this aside from prep yourself for the long haul, guys. Make sure that everything on your PC is up and running as best as it possibly can. Because if let's just say for the sake of argument, like if you were looking to get that second graphics card so you could live stream on Twitch, I hope you did it last year. Because yeah, I'm already looking at this problem because we actually need to upgrade my wife's PC, and we need to do like a big overhaul. She's had this PC for about 5-6 years and it's starting to die. And so at that point now I'm having to look at this and go, how on earth are we going to make this work without having to, break major bank to get her a graphics card?
This is why I'm a console gamer.
All hail the console master race. We've risen from the ashes yet again.
What, are you expecting me to oppose you? I'm in between. I'm the John McCain of console and PC gamers. I go both ways. Seriously, have you ever seen like those Jib Jab videos where they put him in like a Hugh Hefner jacket and gave him a martini? Yeah, that's me.
Now, please give us some sort of analogy of console PC gaming in a John McCain voice.
The difference, my friends, between consoles and PC gaming is that PC gaming right now is horribly expensive, my friends. Trust me, I'm a maverick in the Senate. And I'm not going to go too much further because I have a feeling it would violate the politics rule. So there you go, my friends. There's really not too much to go into. Alex, do you have any other additional thoughts?
I'm afraid not, because a lot of this is over my head, but it certainly was good to see some perspective. And yeah, it kind of sucks if you are hoping to kind of upgrade your machinery a little bit.
Yep.
I guess just really got to look for those good deals and just try not to break the bank too much. And a little PSA about cryptocurrency investment, because we went so much into it. Don't invest more than you're willing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I've already had a couple of people ask me about it, and I treat it kind of like I do the stock market, which is like you have to expect vicious upturns and vicious downturns. That's just the way it goes.
The way my older brother put it, and he recently cashed out the cryptocurrency he had. So we had Bitcoin, Ether, Dragon. The best way to he put it that he saw in an article, the stock market exists to take money from the hands of the impatient and put it into the hands of the patient. So the people who play the long game, because that's how it works. And with cryptocurrency, when it gets to a point where you've made a profit, sell, because otherwise you're just watching numbers. Yeah. That's kind of the big takeaway he told me, is that if you invest in cryptocurrency, as soon as you've made a sizable profit with the currency, sell, because otherwise you're just going to drive yourself crazy watching the numbers go up and down.
Pretty much. So let's go ahead. And that's actually going to wrap up the tech portion. And let's go ahead and get into the entertainment portion, which has a little bit more of the silly tonight. But unfortunately, we have to start off with the serious again. So this is a story that I've kind of wanted to bring up to the podcast for a while for other reasons. But unfortunately, it's one of those borderline kind of compromises the politics rule in the way that I wanted to bring it up. And so at that point, that's why I love the fact that I have the panel that I do, because sometimes, your passions can kind of overtake your logic, and it may not necessarily be the best idea for me to do that, especially if I'm wanting to be a safe haven from everyday BS that happens. And unfortunately, this got brought to us via a listener. And so at that point, we're going to cover it, but we're going to try and be as limited as we can about it. Because if we go too much into the detail, we have to explain the politics of it, and that becomes a little bit more of an issue. So if you've been following this as a card game fan, it's been a little bit of a frustrating thing to follow the conflict going on in the Magic the Gathering community. In particular, the fact that the Magic the Gathering Judge Association has been under a lot of fire recently, and is going to be under a lot more fire as more. I'm already starting to see some mainstream media outlets, local news outlets, covering this, and for good reason. And it's going to get worse and worse as things go along. But if you're not familiar with the situation, I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can. And unfortunately, I do have to bring up the person that is bringing it to us. So I'm going to also be brief about that. And trust me, he deserves his own story time. But you have to bring up one Jeremy Hambley, he is a YouTube content creator that actually owns the channel Unsleeved Media, and also used to own, or I think he rebranded it as Magic. He originally had Magic the Gathering headquarters. And recently he's been also under a lot of fire because the Magic the Gathering community, Wizards of the Coast in particular, handed him a permanent ban without appeal. I'm not going to go into why, because again, that kind of goes into the violation of the no politics rule. But as a reaction to that, he has actually become a very vigilant follower of all of the things that the Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering community, Magic Judges Association do, and kind of questioning them on it. In particular, that he actually got inside information on a few of the honored judges who are like level 2, level 3, actually doing a lot of the judging at major tournaments, major Magic events, releases, things like that. Well, if you do a basic background check on them, you unfortunately will find out that they have very recent sex offense convictions on their record. So far, Jeremy Hambley has been able to nail about 10 of them. I think that's the number that he recently just came to. And I wish we could go into detail on a lot of these, but it isn't pretty. And frankly, I do also try to keep this very family content based. And to describe a lot of the stuff that these guys would do is, well, disgusting. But bottom line is that in a lot of cases, they're judges. They're also, in some cases, owners of local game stores. And for those who don't know what that is, basically your local board gaming store that might also be a comic book store or an anime store kind of thing. These guys own those, and they're pulling bull crap. In particular, the one that pisses me off when I actually read about it was the guy who I believe he was close to a Universal Park or something like that. And he actually installed a camera in one of the electrical outlets in the ladies' restroom at his place. And since he was so close to the park, he actually had a lot of reception of people. And there was a water park portion of it. He would get people coming to change for the water park in his store. So we're talking about a guy who was able to get quite a bit of footage and actually cataloged a lot of it, had DVDs of it when he got busted. Yeah, it's not a pretty concept. All 10 of these judges have a bit of a problem to them. And Wizards originally wasn't going to act until, these came to light, and now have recently put out a statement basically saying that from here on in, like most card games do, they will be submitting their judges or any people that are going to be officiating in these tournaments, whether they be at local game stores or at actual events, have to be submitted to background checks. And if they do not pass, if they have a criminal history, I'm guessing right now it's being limited to just a sexual criminal history, they are banned from doing so.
Yeah, specifically it says like sexual offenses or crimes against children.
Yeah, let me explain these, going into what they actually said. So these are updated sections that they put in. To protect players of all ages to the extent permitted by applicable law, you agree to conduct background checks. This is going out to local game stores and to tournament organizers and stuff like that, to meet your obligations under Section 15 on your staff, as well as those you engage with that interact with the public. The next section, you will refrain from violating the WPN Code of Conduct, and you agree to display in your retail store and or event locations player and community policies as designated by Wizards of the Coast from time to time. You will also not employ or otherwise engage staff or other individuals who interact with the public on your behalf who appear on a sex offender registry or its international equivalent and or have been convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction for a violent sexual offense or crime against children. This is already a system that other card games, such as Pokemon, if the Digimon card game was still up and running, I think they would follow that too, because that would be under Bandai Namco. Yu-Gi-Oh! I know also falls under this, where they do background check their officials and everything like that. And so a lot of people are a little shocked that Magic, who is kind of the flagship card game right now to a lot of people, they've never done this, and now are having to kind of backtrack a big way in order to get all of this done for them. So that before I get into my opinion on the matter, because again, my opinion is kind of jaded. I've been following this situation because I do actually follow Jeremy Hambley and all of the stuff that has been happening to him. And that's where a lot of this news breaks, is on his channel. So I'm just going to open it up to the panel first. Stephen Romney, what are your thoughts on the changes that Magic the Gathering is looking to implement here?
Well, honestly, I'm kind of with a lot of the people that are surprised that they didn't have this on the books already, given that not just like card games, a lot of companies and businesses in general have these policies in place. Like, there are a few exceptions. That's kind of why getting on the sex offender registry is such a black mark, because if you get on the registry, good luck trying to find a job, because, well, companies have, if they find that you've been convicted of a crime and are on such a registry, they, by all accounts, have no incentive to hire you. So it's very much one of those,
in some states, disincentive to hire you.
Yeah. So honestly, looking at this, I'm just surprised that it took until now for them to have these policies in place. But
yeah,
that's
how long has Magic been running? Like 10 plus years now, it has to be.
I'd say almost 20 or so. I mean, I think it was around like late 80s, early 90s at the very least. It's an old game.
It is a very old game. It's gone through a lot of renovations and all that. You would think that this crap would be in place. I'm pretty sure that when the Pokemon trading card game, because Nintendo was involved as well as Game Freak, they probably pushed for that like right off the bat and said, yeah, this is something common sense dictates, since it's such a kid-friendly card game.
Yeah, but
you have to have it.
There, I think, lies the big distinction, though, because Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, they had the anime and video games targeting it towards kids, whereas from the get-go, Magic the Gathering was aiming towards the older Dungeons and Dragons crowd. And so they probably were under the assumption of, okay, most of the people playing this game are adults. We can conduct themselves accordingly. But if recent events have shown any indication, not just within Magic, but in many industries at large, that's not quite the case. So,
well, and what actually surprised me when I did my homework on this matter is, like, you know, there is such a thing as a professional card game player. I've been able to find some pro Pokemon trading card game guys. What shocked me about this when I did my homework on it is that there are pro Magic the Gathering players that are as young as 7 or 8. That they go to these tournaments, they earn, you know, if they win, they earn buku cash, and that's what they do. And I'm like 7 or 8 years old, and these guys are in a lot of the offenses that these guys get brought up on. Like, that's a no-no. That's an absolute no-no.
Yeah, especially when you have people who've committed these crimes in positions of power, like judges, because that's the other key thing here, is that these are people who judge these tournaments, who judge these matches. And, well, it's the same thing we saw in Hollywood, where, people in positions of power using their influence to get certain favors. And so, yeah, I mean, good on Wizards for trying to step up and do this, but I just have to ask, what took so long?
What took so long? Exactly. That's the part that blows my mind. Like, occasionally here and there, I've always been interested to look into Magic, because I do love Hearthstone. A lot of people like to make the characterization. Hearthstone is Magic Light. And I've always been interested in Magic as, you know, I've also been interested in D&D and all that. But when I heard this, it's just like, holy crap. I think I'm going to step back from this for a couple of years and make sure that they fix this problem too. Yeah. And trust me, the Magic the Gathering community has a lot more problems than that. In fact, my honest opinion of the Magic the Gathering community is they should meet the League of Legends community and have themselves a little sewing circle, because they both would need each other.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to get into Magic but don't want to deal with the community, my recommendation, try the Android app. The Magic 2015 teaches you the game, gives you the idea of how it works, and you don't have to deal with the annoying people in the comic shops that act like they're better than you.
The other thing that was actually really shocking is again, I know the circumstances of a lot of the 10 that have been shown off. I can think of at least 2 of them that their offenses were at events. Like, I'm not saying Magic events, but they probably were, you know, judges for other things, and these happened at local game stores. These happened at these Magic events. Again, big freaking no. That's stuff that you should have, like, we should have heard about that on the 5 o'clock news of you getting busted. So yeah, I mean, good on you, Wizards, for finally doing this, but what took you so long? Oh, I know what took you so long, but yeah. There's, like I said, once you have to open that other door, which I probably will do in a separate video, just kind of going over it because it's effed up beyond all measure. But yeah, it becomes a whole can of worms. Alex, what you kind of are sitting there kind of dumbfounded on the matter. What is your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, I don't follow Magic the Gathering, so unfortunately I'm very green to all of this. So, but it is basic common sense. This is something that should have been implemented a long time ago. Yeah. And and unfortunately, it's always unfortunate that it has to take specific terrible inciting incidents to motivate change. I really wish we could be a lot more proactive as people in general to keep this kind of shit from happening.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just it's shocking overall. It's like, holy crap, this, you would think that Wizards of the Coast, it probably not in like their first couple of years of popularity, would have taken care of. They would have taken care of by the time they had actual cons hosting tournaments, hosting major events.
And I get Magic probably did have has a strong like adult appeal, strong like gathering of adults, but back in high school, I had a little group of friends that were way into Magic the Gathering. So yeah, there are young people that do get into this game. So anytime I think you have youth, anytime you have kids, be it little kids or teenagers, you need to take these proper precautions to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen, especially considering you could be staring down the barrel of a big lawsuit if you don't.
Yeah,
an enormous lawsuit.
Yeah, and my mind just jumped to a weird thing where you said, "Oh, cons hosting tournaments." I'm just like, that's kind of what we don't want to have happen. We don't want cons hosting tournaments.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, they're officially sanctioned tournaments that are happening, but yeah, that was the wrong way to put it.
I wasn't meaning that. I was just meaning the joke instead of the convention.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, my bad. Yeah, we don't want convicts running the tournaments. No, we really don't. Contrary to a lot of other people, like I think that this is a major problem and it needs to get fixed. Do I have all of the answers for it? No, not really. And frankly, like as a person who follows Jeremy, even I kind of disagree with like the extent that he wants to go down it. But yeah, I think in all honesty, this is a step in the right direction for Wizards, but it just dumbfounds me that this wasn't in place sooner. Because that any other card game, and not even just going into those, was like Star Wars Destiny or Star Wars Legends. There's been a couple of Star Wars card games at that point. Warhammer, you'd think that they'd cover this crap right off the bat. Like this is stuff that they have to figure out right there, especially with local game stores. Not only trying to advertise themselves as a place to get, your board games, get your D&D stuff, but also as being a place to be able to play those games and with adequate supervision. It just, doesn't work out that way. So I think that's pretty much hammering the nail on the head. Again, I'll probably make another video on the whole situation because, again, you have to open that politics door, and I really don't want to open it for you guys. I didn't agree with my panel when they told me no, and now I kind of do because, once you open that door, you can't go back. And frankly, that's who we cater to is people don't want to have to deal with politics. They already deal with it 23 hours in the day.
And plus, to be fair, when you brought it to us, that was when the issue was still fresh and you were still riled up. But now that enough time has passed and enough information is out there, it's easier to wade through some of the issues now instead of striking while you're riled up, while the emotions are high.
Yeah. And the problem is emotions are still kind of high in that because the circumstances of it, I think, set a very dangerous precedent within any fandom. So, yeah. Especially given the reasons for Jeremy's banning. I really do think that they set a horrible precedent that could literally come back and bite other people very soon. Not necessarily within Magic the Gathering, but in other fandoms. So,
yep.
So moving on into the next one, we have some wonderful speculation as the Razzies and the Oscars nominations have come in. So let's go ahead and start off with the silly and go into the Razzies, shall we? So the Razzie nominations are in, and it's pretty much what we expected. A lot of names that we've brought up have been brought up in the Razzies. So we're not going to go into every stinking category because with the Oscars, we'd be here all night. There's just too much to go into, but we'll go into the big stuff. In particular, worst picture for the Razzies, Baywatch, The Emoji Movie, 50 Shades Darker, The Mummy, and Transformers: The Last Night.
I love how they title it Transformers 17 because it certainly feels like it's been.
Why do they do that?
I guess they're being cheeky because it feels like we've had like 50 million of these movies by now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get.
But at that point, embellish it. Make it 50.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to get to 50 if they start actually proceeding with their Transformers cinematic universe idea.
Yeah, let's not bring that up. But yeah, like a lot of these are very deserving of Worst Picture. Me personally, I'd throw The Disaster Artist in there, but that's me.
You didn't even see it.
And?
So you can't throw the movie in there.
Okay, The Room.
Yeah, because that's the distinction. The Room is a bad film, but technically it came out several years ago, so it doesn't count. The Disaster Artist is a film about The Room, not The Room itself.
Worst actress, we have Katherine Heigl for Unforgettable, Dakota Johnson for 50 Shades Darker, Jennifer Lawrence for Mother, Tyler Perry for Boo 2, Medea Halloween. Man, they really just hate Tyler Perry, don't they? And Emma Watson for The Circle. See, now I'm glad I never saw The Circle.
So am I. I know I did suggest that we go
you
see
got
it.
Mad, like, can we tell the story? You got pissed when I said no to The Circle.
I wasn't really that pissed. I was being a little cheeky with you, but
well, because I watched the trailer and I'm just like, no, I'm already getting this everywhere else. I really don't need to see this. He's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was interested because it was like, oh, it's Tom Hanks and Emma Watson in a movie together. I'm like, this should be interesting, but I've heard it's pretty terrible.
Yeah,
I heard it's like a heavy-handed, watch out for those evil tech companies kind of movie.
Not only that, but this was also the year where, look, I kind of pointed it out last year. I love Emma Watson. If we ever end up in a green room together, I have a feeling we'll strangle each other. But we'll strangle each other. We will hate each other. But I can still at least applaud her professionally. I do appreciate her work. This was not one of her strongest years professionally. Yeah. I'm just going to say that. Like, for as much as I've actually hailed Beauty and the Beast, one of the things I haven't hailed is her performance in it. So that moving forward, worst actor, Tom Cruise, The Mummy. I have a feeling Romney has a few things to say about that. Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean 8, Dead Men Tell No Tales. I think that's another joke right off
the bat. It's 13.
Oh, 13. Sorry. I got the Roman numerals wrong. Jamie Dornan for 50 Shades Darker, Zac Efron for Baywatch, Mark Wahlberg for Daddy's Home 2 and Transformers. Let's see, 17, The Last Night. Actually, really quick, like who do we think is going to take worst actor and worst actress? I almost think it's going to be Emma. Emma's not had a good year.
It's hard to say.
And for worst actor, Tom Cruise. Because even like as much as I hate Age of Extinction, Mark Wahlberg was not one of the things I hated out of it. I didn't hate him that much. So I'm not necessarily going to give it there. And Baywatch, that was just silly.
Baywatch was just one of those films that we all had to sit there and ask, who wanted this? Why was this made?
I seriously believe that the director who did Baywatch just wanted to cast The Rock and just wanted to have a moment where he could justify The Rock lifting refrigerators. That's what he wanted. And I'm not talking like just a refrigerator, because there's a scene where like he's got a barbell and on the other side of both ends is a refrigerator. He just wanted that to happen.
Just save yourselves the pain of trying to watch the Baywatch movie and just go watch Obscurus Lupa's Baywatching, where she goes through every single episode of Baywatch for you.
I'm Baywatched out. No, I'm Baywatched out. As someone who actually did have to watch it because we did have a fan in the family, I'm Baywatched out. No thanks.
So, yeah, my dad loved Baywatch too. So
yeah,
it's just a thing in the 90s.
Gee, what did you love it for? Their big blue eyes?
I think it might have been David Hasselhoff, but I
probably.
Well, it depends. Was he German?
No.
Well, I mean, he probably watched things like Knight Rider, so he probably was a fan from that.
Yeah, true.
So worst supporting actor, we have Javier Bardem from Mother and Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, Russell Crowe from The Mummy, Josh Duhamel from Transformers The Last Night, Mel Gibson for Daddy's Home 2, and Anthony Hopkins for Collide and Transformers The Last Night. Are we starting to notice a pattern here? A lot of people have like multiple credits, like they just had a bad year.
Yeah.
Poor Anthony Hopkins. At least Thor Ragnarok's not in there. He's like, yeah, we'll pass that. He was okay with that.
Well, yeah, plus Anthony Hopkins is at the point where he's just like, I was Hannibal Lecter. I've won Oscars. I don't really need to try anymore.
Exactly. If I want to try, it's only with the good projects kind of thing. Worst supporting actress, we have Kim Basinger for 50 Shades Darker, Sophia Boutella for The Mummy, Laura Haddock for Transformers The Last Night, Goldie Hawn for Snatched, and Susan Sarandon, yay, for A Bad Mom's Christmas. Anytime Susan gets nominated, I'm okay with it. I'm not a Susan fan, sorry. But then again, as Alex has pointed out numerous times, I hate Hollywood women, apparently.
You hate everybody. It's not women. You just hate everybody.
It's not my fault that they pissed me off. This is a new one, I think. This is a new nomination because they actually got rid of some stuff in their nominations list, at least the one we have. But I think this is a new one where worst screen combo. Any combination of two characters, two sex toys, or two sexual positions, 50 Shades Darker. Any combination of two humans, two robots, or two explosions, Transformers The Last Night. Any two obnoxious emojis, The Emoji Movie. Johnny Depp and his worn-out drunk routine for Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Or, sorry, Dead Careers Tell No Tales.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry in either the ratty old dress or the worn out old wig for Boo 2 of Medea Halloween.
Well, yeah, I think they did have the worst screen combo last year. It's just in the past used to actually have it with actors, like, okay, worst on screen combination. But then there was that one award where they basically there was like that one nomination in that category, which is like I think the exact phrasing was the entire cast of once respected actors for this movie, I think was the thing, and that started this. I know it was a Will Smith movie that got that nomination. Yeah. We also have worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. Baywatch, Boo 2 of Medea Halloween, 50 Shades Darker, The Mummy, Transformers The Last Night. Worst director, Darren.
One sec. I'm a little surprised the Emoji Movie escaped worst remake because I've heard the movie's basically a ripoff of Wreck-It Ralph and the Lego Movie. But technically, since it's not explicitly based on a pre-existing idea, at least not based on a pre-existing brand or movie, it counts as an, in air quotes, original film. Fair enough.
Yes. So, worst director, we have Darren Aronofsky for Mother, Michael Bay for Transformers The Last Night. Yes! James Foley for 50 Shades Darker, Alex Kurtzman for The Mummy. I didn't even know he was the director for that. That's disappointing. Anthony Tony Leonidas for the Emoji Movie. Yeah. Again, same players.
Literally so much crap to wade through, it's hard to decide.
And then finally, worst screenplay for Baywatch, The Emoji Movie, 50 Shades Darker, The Mummy, and Transformers The Last Night. The only thing that I saw, and I tried to look around to see if they still had it, was because they usually do that redemption award of somebody like making their careers better after receiving a Razzie, and didn't seem to look like they had one this year. And maybe because they didn't have candidates.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Unless they just wait till I don't know. Maybe they'll just wait until they actually have their Razzie ceremony to announce it. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows? They usually announce it with the nominations, but I'm kind of in the camp of there probably wasn't a lot of people who actually redeemed themselves in 2017.
Probably.
Considering 2017 was the year Hollywood fell apart.
Didn't Franco have one? Didn't Franco have one, and then he did The Disaster Artist, and a lot of people love him in that. Well, no, actually, he may have already gotten an award for that. So I don't know.
He already did redeem himself. Yeah, he won a Golden Globe, but he also had redeemed himself quite a ways back. Same case with Shyamalan, same case with a few others. So it's very much, I'm guessing it speaks not so much, there weren't candidates because nobody noticed them. It's just more, that's how bad of a year it was for movies last year.
It really was. So that's the Razzies. Let's look into the Oscars now. Sadly, me and my buddy Brenton, who's not on the podcast tonight, we were looking forward to rumors saying that Wonder Woman might have actually earned a Best Picture nomination. This turned out to be.
Hold on, one sec. Well, hold that thought. As far as the Razzies go, I'm actually surprised Justice League escaped the ire of the Razzies.
I am kind of too. But here's the bottom line of it. When you look at the crap that was already on display, did you really want to bring something up that was meh?
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my viewpoint on the matter, because like all the ones that got brought up, like even I knew that they were turds walking in. I didn't even see them. But Justice League, I felt like had potential. So maybe they spared them that bullet because there was already so much to cover.
Yeah. Plus, like seeing Justice League, it's like it was okay. Wasn't bad. Wasn't great. It was just. It basically would have been amazing if we had much better movies leading up to it.
Exactly. So here are the Oscar nominations. Again, there's so much to go into that we probably won't go into every category, but Best Picture, holy crap, the list gets longer every year. Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So that's all the Best Picture ones. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's usually okay. So never mind, because I think I've seen one as big as about 11 nominations, and this is only 9. But dude, it's just the lists get longer every year.
Yeah, it's mainly because mainly because they're trying to get nominations that will get people to watch the telecast, because that's the thing.
Much. Best Director, Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for The Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water.
Considering this is a directorial debut for Jordan Peele.
Yeah, well, film directorial debut, I would say that much.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I think he was the director on Key and Peele for a while. So like that would be his TV kind of thing.
Well, yeah, he directed like some television stuff, both for Key and Peele and a few other things. But Alex is right. This is his first feature film directorial debut.
Really quick, like what do you guys see as being the winners for Best Director or for Best Picture?
Honestly, I've only seen one of the films nominated, The Shape of Water, so I hope it goes to Del Toro and The Shape of Water, but I know it probably won't.
Yeah,
looking at the films
me and Alex have seen Dunkirk.
Yeah, looking at what films have traction as well as what films tend to have more political baggage, both in its favor and against it, Get Out is definitely going to get some nods just because of the major statements it made about racism, even though people aren't really aware of it going in. But looking at it, my guess, just based on what it discusses, it's either going to Get Out is probably going to get either, if not a lot of them, at least some of the major awards. It's going to probably get at least some of the categories, not necessarily Best Picture, but probably Best Original Screenplay and Best Director at the very least. Darkest Hour, I've been hearing has been making the rounds, as well as The Shape of Water, not The Shape of Water, Phantom Thread, because of, I think that one has Daniel Day-Lewis, who has fair amount of clout. So my guess with Get Out, it's probably going to get a number of awards because of the politics behind it, because that's what happened with 12 Years a Slave.
I can also see Dunkirk getting a few nods here and there because of Nolan's work. It's me and Alex have actually gone on record as saying it's a war movie that doesn't emphasize on the blood and guts. It actually emphasizes on the stories. So at that point, I could see that getting a lot of acknowledgement, but I agree with you. Get Out is going to get a lot of it because of the matter that it tried to cover. Shape of Water, I can also see getting a lot of acknowledgement. I didn't see it, but a lot of people have raved about it that I know.
Yeah. And another thing that may get a lot of attention may also be Lady Bird because of its depiction of mental illness as well. This is going to be a tough year because it's very much which hot button issue do we use the Oscars to publicize?
That's the sad reality, is that, again, this is which hot button issue, not necessarily which is the best made film kind of thing. That's the frustrating part. Moving on, Best Actor in a Leading Role, Timothy Chalamet, I think is how you say it, for Calling Me By Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour, and Denzel Washington from Roman J. Israel Esquire. No idea, probably to Daniel Kaluuya, because that's the lead, right? Or the main subject of it.
Yeah, best actor. That means it's like best.
I don't want to say the black guy, but yeah, the black guy kind of thing.
Yeah. Again, hard to say. There's a lot of talent in this category. With things like the actor nominations, that one is a much harder thing to predict. Since with the politics aside, that one's a case of, okay, do you go and award it to someone from old Hollywood or new Hollywood?
Yeah. Best actress in a leading role, Sally Hawkins for Shape of Water, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya. I'm going to murder that. Saoirse.
It's pronounced Saoirse.
Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird and Meryl Streep for The Post. I could honestly see this going in a few directions. I could see it going for Lady Bird. I don't see it going for Meryl because I don't think The Post has gotten that much traction.
Yeah, honestly, out of all of them,
maybe for Margot Robbie. I know a lot of people, if they watched I, Tonya, they watched it for Margot.
Yeah, I will say this though, Sally Hawkins, it's to her credit. She did a really good job for a character that has no dialogue, that literally communicates in sign language and body language. That takes skill. Even without the subtitles that were helping to communicate it, that takes a lot of skill. And so the fact that she got nominated is a very good thing because that is a hard character to play, and she did a really good job.
But yeah, that's kind of my viewpoint on the matter. Unless Alex has any differing opinions, moving on, or do you have any differing opinions on it?
No, go on.
Best Supporting Actor, Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Richard Jenkins for The Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer for All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. No idea. Again, I haven't seen any of these, and I intentionally avoided 3 Billboards just because I knew it was controversial subject matter. So no idea on that one.
And the only
there's a lot of good talent in there.
Well, yeah, and the only politics one I can see, and I'm talking industry politics, would be with Christopher Plummer because he was he was brought in to replace Kevin Spacey. So that's no doubt is going to cause some contention amongst some people watching the Oscars.
Best Supporting Actress, Mary J. Blige for Mudbound, Allison Janney for I, Tonya, Leslie Manville, or Allison Janney, okay. Leslie Manville for Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. I have seen a lot of the stuff from I, Tonya of Allison Janney, and I do think it was done really, really well. I see I, Tonya winning for Margot, not for Allison, though. Maybe this is another one where I would think like either Lady Bird or Shape of Water might take it. Not sure. Again, it's the Oscars.
It's a
whatever is the most politically skewed is going to get it. And this is where we get into kind of the Geek Awards. So we're going to kind of skim through this and give our favorites. Original screenplay, adapted. Unfortunately, like a lot of the movies that I followed aren't really in here. Logan's in there for adapted screenplay.
That's pretty surprising.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that's in the list, but I guess it goes to show, hey, that means that it did something right if the screenplay is getting some actual nods from the Academy. But again, my logic, probably to get people to watch the telecast, all things considered.
Probably. Going into the awards that I actually legitimately care about, visual effects, Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, War of the Planet of the Apes. I could see it either going to Apes, Galaxy, or to Star Wars. I honestly could.
Can we back up to animated feature for a moment?
Oh yeah, this is another hot. I was going to do this later, Alex, but okay. Animated feature, which is always a hot button topic on the podcast, because usually it's insert Disney here that always wins.
Yeah, but tonight, I think that. Yeah,
but let me get into the nominees first, and then we'll get into our opinions. We have The Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent.
I'm going to ask the obvious. Why the hell was The Boss Baby nominated?
I know, right?
Asking that. Jesus.
I mean, of all the films that have come out, why The Boss Baby? Of all
the other one I'm a little shocked about is Ferdinand. And that's just because I don't think Ferdinand was like, I've seen stuff on it. It's not groundbreaking. It's not the most amazing thing to look at. I would actually dare say Coco looks better than Ferdinand. And I know it wasn't because of John Cena. Okay.
Well, the thing is with Ferdinand, one, it's based off of a long, really old children's book, so at least it's kind of got the nostalgia button there. It's kind of got the age and clout behind it, so there it makes some sense. The Boss Baby has no substance behind it, so I don't know why the hell it was nominated, unless Alec Baldwin...
It's a baby doing a Donald Trump impression. That's what it is.
My guess, Alec Baldwin must have pulled a bunch of favors because he realized he wasn't going to have any other nominations otherwise. That's the only thing I can think of, but even that, just why?
And and of course, my Weeby trigger button has been pushed because quite a few anime films were submitted for consideration. Napping Princess from Kenji Kamiyama, A Silent Voice, which I've raved about, and Your Name, I've also raved about. All of them totally snubbed. Oh, and In This Corner of the World, which is another kind of honest depiction of life during World War II in Japan.
Okay, part of me is with you on that, Alex, but part of me is just like, why do you even care? You know they'll never make it. Just save yourself the pain.
I know, but it triggers my poor Weeby button. So, and just the fact, Boss Baby. Okay, I mean, at least there's a couple of.
I agree with you, but it's just like. I've just officially gone like, okay, if not even the Wind Rises could do it, if not even the Wind Rises could rise above the Disney shtick, what hope do we have that? Yeah, because Ghibli like had the clout to be able to do it. They had the Disney backing too. So at that point, like, what other company has any lick of hope to be able to be shown here?
And exactly, I know this, and I know I'm setting myself up for pain every time I hear anime films be submitted for consideration. But the fact that Boss Baby, for God's sake, I mean, credit is still due because there's at least a couple of ambitious animated features in here, but it's still the Boss Baby. It's just the Boss Baby. Come on.
It's Alec Baldwin. I agree with Romney. It's Alec Baldwin. That's why I got nominated.
I had a train of thought that I was going with, but I totally forgot it. Damn it. It's not your fault. It's just I lost it. So, yeah. Oh yes. What I was going off with was, we talked about this like a year or two ago. I think it was more like 2 years or 3 years ago where the Academy Academy insiders basically confessed they didn't watch any of the animated features, and I guess in the back of my mind, a faint sliver of hope was some of the recent voter shakeups after the whole backlash from the Oscar So White campaign might have maybe shaken up the voter pool a little bit to maybe bring in some people who will actually give slightly more of a damn about animation. Apparently not.
No, not if the Boss Baby got a nomination.
You give the Academy too much credit, Alex. Way too much credit.
I'm still the starry-eyed optimist.
Yeah.
Again, this is coming from Romney. The film, I hate to go to this route because we bring him in for gaming stuff too, but he's the film guy. He's the film reviewer. He's got the know-how. He knows the internal politics, and even he has just given up.
Yeah, I gave up on base because I used to follow the Oscars fairly religiously.
So did I.
After that article with after the article about animation and all the other things, I just realized, you know what? I'm not going to care. It's one big industry-wide circle jerk anyway.
See, in a lot of cases, I actually used to give credit to the Oscars because in a lot of cases, like the actors, the actresses that would get nominated, like I knew them from mainstream stuff, and I hadn't necessarily seen what they got nominated for, and I got to see some really good performances and movies from them. I had never seen Training Day, and when Denzel got his nomination for that, I went out and got it, and I'm glad I've seen it. It's dark as hell, but I'm glad I've seen it.
Yeah, that's kind of the inherent idea behind the Oscars. It's to get people to watch these movies. And that'd be all well and good if the nepotism wasn't just so awful. That's the thing.
It really is, yeah. I hate to be the guy here because, again, we've said it before and we'll say it numerous other times, but the Oscars isn't even about professional accolades anymore. It's who do we pity the most? And who do we think will hit the most hot buttons is who wins.
That, and it's also a case of which one of the people bought us the most expensive dinners.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Who didn't have to deal with any Harvey Weinstein fallout? That's who wins. But going into it though, like is this one of those things where we're okay with Disney walking away with it? I haven't seen Coco, but I've had it recommended to me. But
I'd give it to Disney over the freaking Boss Baby. If the
so we're all on board with Disney just murdering the Boss Baby.
To be honest, I mean, Coco seems like a fine movie. I haven't seen it, but I'm a little sick of Disney taking home the award every goddamn year. I want to see the breadwinner take it. Just a quick summary. Pravana is an 11-year-old girl who lives under Taliban rule in Afghanistan in 2001. After a wrongful arrest of her father, she cuts off her hair and dresses like a boy to support her family, working alongside a friend. She soon discovers a new world of freedom and danger, drawing strength from more. I'm not going to go further, but see that. So there, I can at least say, at least there's a couple of ambitious nominations in here.
At that point, but the Boss Baby still look at you and go, yeah, it's not going to get it because it's not the most recent demographic that they're going to care about.
Yeah, I know, because it's Disney, and Disney always gets it.
And not even just with Disney, it's just a case of, most of the time, the people who are supposed to be watching these animated films are going to whatever their kids want to watch. Because
exactly. Yes.
Exactly. So unless some of them have really culturally aware children, which not impossible, but highly unlikely, at this point, I'd be fine with Disney taking it just so that the Boss Baby doesn't. Because if the Boss Baby takes Best Animated Feature, I'm done. I'm already done with the Oscars. That'll just be like, I'll be officially done with the world.
Romney, you need to come over just so that we can watch some good movies or something like that in the middle of Oscar time, and we'll record it, and we'll just be like, we're so happy we're not watching the Oscars. We don't have to deal with any of the bull crap that they're trying to pull off.
Yes, and I'm going to be the one who's live tweeting through the whole thing, and I'm going to rage against the machine so hard. I'll be all out of rage.
But here's the thing. Here's why that's a good thing, is because when the controversies happen, you're the one who can give all of the hilarious explanations for it, like you did last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I wish I could say like a couple of these other more geekier nominations mattered, but in a lot of cases, a lot of the same people got nominated for them, and frankly, the ones that I think should win are really just not going to walk away with it. And frankly, we're running out of time. So that is the Oscar nominations. We've covered the biggest stuff. Hopefully it's not too much of a train wreck, but it's going to be a train wreck. That's just the way to look at it. So finally, moving on into, I paired these stories unusually, and there's a reason why, so that we could talk about them as quickly as we can, because there's not a whole lot to talk on. So the first thing we're talking about is, so apparently there's going to be a film remake you wouldn't expect. And that is that Steven Spielberg is actually, I believe he's already put out the casting notices for it, for a West Side Story remake that he will direct. And he's got his producers in here somewhere. Kevin McCollum and Christy Makosko Krieger. I think I'm saying that right. So he's already got his kind of crew together. He's just doing his casting calls for it. I will admit, after West Side Story hit Broadway, I kind of thought it was going to stay there. And I mean, there is the 1961 film 61. That came out. I didn't see like a modern day remake working, especially with, I love the fact that a lot of people bring up how musicals just can't work and cite things like Newsies in Chicago as why.
Chicago,
even though I actually think Chicago was okay.
Didn't Chicago do very well though?
Yeah, it did
well
really
award wise, but like I don't think I think financially it kind of suffered a little bit.
Yeah. Plus, if people are saying, "Oh, musicals don't do well," I'd like to point you all to Fiddler on the Roof, probably the best film adaptation of a musical ever.
Beauty and the Beast did fairly well, and that was more adapted off of the musical than it was the animated feature.
Granted, that's got the Disney.
I know.
So. Yeah, I mean. It's hard to make a bad movie with music by Alan Menken. It's not impossible, but it's really hard.
Yeah. So at that point, I mean, I guess the one thing are we interested in seeing this? I personally have seen West Side Story. I could live without it, but if Steven Spielberg was behind it and the trailers look good, maybe I'd see it.
Well, I mean, of all the musicals, it's not the worst one to be adapted, because considering shortly after the success of Les Miserables, so many studios were trying to fast-track musicals into production. They were trying to fast-track Wicked. There was the Guys and Dolls remake with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Channing Tatum. Joseph Gordon-Levitt can sing, Channing Tatum cannot, and, well, now we haven't heard anything of that. So, honestly, out of all of them, West Side Story probably would be the most... It probably would be the easiest, because it's a very simple story. It's basically just Romeo and Juliet, but set in New York.
Do we see them like going with the classic story, or do we see them modernizing it up?
Well, probably modernizing it up, because that's what West Side Story did with Romeo and Juliet. It modernized it up and set it in New York. And given like the rise of the popularity of certain TV shows and movies about gangs and everything, I can see it working. I just worry that it's a case of, are we going to have it where it's going to actually be directed by someone with a passion for it? Because we know that Spielberg is working on it, but is he actually directing it, or is he only producing it? But that's the key thing.
The article that we have is not horribly clear on that.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. Is it actually going to be directed by someone who wants to make a musical? Or are we going to have a Will Gluck scenario like with Annie, where you can tell the director did not want to make a musical, but was forced to make it anyway, and made it clear in the film he did not want to do it, much to the detriment of the film. Given that it's Spielberg, I'm cautiously optimistic. If he's directing it himself, I'm fine with it, because he's directed musical numbers before. But at the same time, if he hands it off to someone, please let it be someone who actually wants to do a musical, who actually likes musicals, who isn't going to try to constantly break the fourth wall. That version of Annie pissed me off so much. I don't want another one of that with West Side Story, because it's actually a decent musical.
Well, granted,
so is Annie, and Annie didn't deserve that treatment.
Yeah, granted, if it's in casting calls at this point, wouldn't it be kind of safe to say it's probably secured Spielberg as its director?
I'm not sure, because even the article kind of goes and says that this is one of his projects, but he's not necessarily attached as director for it. It doesn't confirm he's director.
Yeah, so I'm worried, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, in a
lot of cases, they could say this is one of his next projects under his banner. Kind of thing.
Makes me kind of wish I had maintained my singing voice, because I would actually try to go out and audition for this sort of thing. But, well, my singing voice kind of went to crap over not maintaining it, so I can kind of kiss that dream goodbye.
I would do it too, but I would already be eliminated because I can't snap with both fingers, with both hands. So,
well, I'm not really finding much in the way of information other than IMDb says he's director, but IMDb's anybody can edit site. So it's about as reliable as where you can.
It's not worthwhile to go into, but again, there's not too much to go into this one, so I'm going to go into the paired story just so that we can end things on the silly. And there's a reason I paired them together, because we can do the comparisons and all that stuff. And so, like I said, this is a film remake you didn't expect, and now we have a film you didn't expect happening. We are proud to announce, that the next video game adaptation that's going to be getting a treatment is Duke Nukem. And it gets weirder, because they are in talks with John Cena Sorry, give me a second. Get my kazoo on. They're talking to John Cena about voicing said Duke.
Well, is he voicing, or is he actually going to play them?
Playing him. And the entire time I'm reading this, I'm just like, am I in my body at this point? Am I dreaming? Is this just a weird dream that I want to wake up from now? Because like John Cena is not the biggest problem I have here. Duke Nukem is going to be a movie?
Oh, here's what may rub some salt in the wound. Guess who one of the producers is? Michael Bay.
Damn it, now this makes sense. You just want to destroy everything you touch.
Honestly,
that's just in a month later, Uwe Boll is directing it.
Just no. Just no.
Bay just all admits to us, he's like, I looked into the whites of his eyes and I just didn't understand why people hated him.
Honestly, of all things Michael Bay could touch, Duke Nukem is probably the most fitting thing.
If it's Bay, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense for him to touch it. But then I have to ask the second question. Why John Cena?
Well, here's my theory. When you consider that Duke Nukem is basically based on every single 80s action star ever, with his trademark sunglasses coming from a certain little film called They Live, which also happened to star another wrestler.
Roddy Piper.
Yes, that is probably the parallel they were hoping to draw, is that, hey, see, it's exactly like They Live. We got our own wrestler to star in this.
Yeah, okay, I'm not saying your logic's wrong, Romney. But at the same time, I just literally look at this and go, okay, first of all, why is this movie happening? Because I can already tell you feminists are going to be coming out in droves protesting this film. Protesting its making, protesting its conception, protesting its actual earning money. They will hate it. Movie theaters will hate it.
Well, unless they're banking on the controversy and hoping to pull a Passion of the Christ, where the controversy.
That's my guess. Is like this will be like the next Deadpool to them, and it's like, oh, it's so racy, it's cool, kind of thing. But there's a reason, like a bunch of organizations would hate it. But then, why would you put a guy who has like what 3-4 films under his that are not WWE production films, guys? This is not WWE films I'm counting. This is like Ferdinand. I think he did another comedy this year.
Yep.
Bumblebee will be a thing by the time this comes out.
Yeah, because like the ones he's been most recently, he was in Trainwreck and he was in Daddy's Home and he was in The Marine. Between all the films that he's done, John Cena does a much better job in comedies than in serious action films. Because The Marine,
he's not good in serious.
Yeah, because The Marine was a serious action film, didn't do too well, but with Trainwreck, he's got a very good sense of comedic timing. And so if they're gonna treat this as just a straight up parody of Duke Nukem, I can see it working.
Yeah, if it's a parody, but then at that point, I also just kind of sit there and go, like, what other actors could you do that would work this better? I would actually dare say, crap, his name is escaping me right now, but Hellboy. Ron Perlman would be perfect as the Duke. I don't know why he wasn't considered.
Probably the makeup issue, given that he's allergic to most makeup that's used in the industry. That's why he's not able.
They wouldn't be doing too much makeup, though.
Well, yeah, but that's actually kind of a main reason why Ron Perlman can't get much work anymore. It's because some of the makeup that's in use he's allergic to. One person that I could see doing Duke Nukem as well would be Stephen Lang, which some of you may remember he was campaigning to play Cable back in the day. He was the evil general in Avatar. Him, I can see him as being like an old but still muscular version of Duke Nukem. I mean, for all we know, they may even try to do some weird parody time-traveling hijinks, which, well...
Somebody just brought up another good example. So, well, even Dwayne Johnson has Doom, so John Cena needs to have Duke Nukem.
Yeah, but for all we know, we'll probably get the inverse logic, whereas Doom had the long, successful, popular, well-constructed video game series with the crappy movie adaptation. We have the decent first-person shooters with the crappy most recent release. Watch, this will be the inverse logic, like with the Mummy Demastered, where you have the really bad video game that gets the really good movie adaptation.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be. Again, I'm trying to make sense of this in my head. Like, why John Cena for Duke Nukem? Why? What?
Well, the obvious answer.
I don't know what's going to be even worse about this is like one of the jokes about Duke is, that he has the twin girls in the skimpy outfits. And it just so happens that he's married to a set of twins that look good in skimpy outfits. I can already see a bunch of WWE fans going, get the Bella twins in there. No.
Well, that depends. I mean, if Michael Bay wants to start courting Vince McMahon, maybe even doing it as a release through WWE Films.
Don't even go there, Romney. He just announced the XFL. Don't do that. Don't do that to me right now.
Honestly, just looking at this, if you want to look at the real reason, it's mainly because he's got the brand recognition and he's one of the few wrestlers that's made the successful transition to acting. He's not to Dwayne Johnson level, but it's a case of if you put him in a movie, it's not box office poison.
Well, that's why him and Dwayne have kind of the same issues. Like they have hit or miss performances, and if you put Dwayne in the right performance, he works really, really well. But when you put him in the stuff that's just absolutely, I would actually say if the film is way too overly silly, it ain't gonna work for him. Stuff like Jumanji, even I'll admit, like the way he looks in Jumanji, it actually works for him. Even in I can't remember the one where he's like the fairy godmother,
the Tooth Fairy.
The Tooth Fairy, yeah. So even that kind of worked because, he's got the comedy skills to be able to pull that off. And guys, before you start jumping down my throat, I know why John got put in this, because he's got Bumblebee. And even if Bumblebee bombs, it's still going to be box office gold. So at that point, it doesn't even matter if he did a good or a bad performance. He's the supporting actor. Who cares?
Plus, he's got that name recognition between things like Ferdinand and just his successful run in a lot of comedies. It's very much the case of, hey, he's clearly bankable.
The thing that blows my mind, though, is that I have to wonder, like, he's also bankable with the kids, but Duke isn't. So at that point, like, are we going to nerf down Duke so that he can be more kid-friendly?
But again, to that point, Trainwreck was an R-rated comedy, and his career didn't really suffer. I saw Trainwreck. It is a really raunchy comedy, and even John Cena himself was involved in the raunchy humor. I don't want to go into too much detail because, well, I would hear Brenton kind of cringing out in the ether, wanting to jump in on the humor. But so that's not going to really be a problem for John Cena. He's done raunchy comedies before, so this wouldn't really hurt him.
Okay. So, yeah, Alex, you've been kind of quiet on both of these. So the West Side Story remake and Duke Nukem.
I don't have any strong feelings on Duke Nukem. Considering John Cena is at this point only in talks, we'll see if it actually goes anywhere. As for West Side Story, I guess I'm curious. I'm interested. I don't even think I've even seen the entirety of the original 61 film, so might be a good time to see that now. So I guess we'll wait and see what comes out of it.
Okay. And that's actually going to go ahead and do it for the stories tonight. We actually ran a little bit over tonight. It's one of those rare times when we actually can do that. So yay. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. So let's go and wrap things up with, if people want to be able to get a hold of us to get our opinions on the various stories that we've talked about, and there was a lot of them. Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, how do people do that for you?
Well, you can find me at Studio Ghost Utah. That is my handle both on YouTube and on Facebook. And I'm also on Twitter at Romney Reviews. Still working on the outro. I think this is probably the one I'll stick with. And as for this week's Romney's recommendation, well, net neutrality is something that we've been discussing in the news a lot lately. Many of you may have seen John Oliver's video about it, but what I'm recommending is a video that found a way to explain the concept of net neutrality in under 5 minutes, in a way that is actually really clever, and it's from a company I did not expect, and that was Burger King. They released a commercial called Whopper Neutrality, where they did this experiment where they basically altered the menu of the Whopper, so that way people had to pay tiers that would have determined how fast their Whopper was made, with the fastest speed of making burgers per second costing $26, and the cheapest speed, which basically meant that you had to wait a good couple of hours, being the average price of an actual Whopper. It is a well-done commercial. It does a much more concise job of explaining what net neutrality is and why it's an important issue in under, I think the commercial is only 3 minutes long. And so, one, the fact that it's a large company, Burger King, taking the stand, and two, the fact that they did this experiment to communicate why it's a big deal. It's a really good commercial. So if you have people who don't understand what net neutrality is, I highly recommend showing this video. It is literally Burger King Whopper Neutrality. That is this week's Romney's recommendation.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was wondering if it was going to be your recommendation. I actually got something on Twitter from a friend who another guy took a completely different approach, but used the Whopper Neutrality commercial to advertise it. And because of the experiment that they did, he labeled it the problems with microtransactions. And if you look at it, works there too. Strangely, I may need to send you the tweet just so you can see the justification there. And then Alex, the Shadow Blazer, how do people get a hold of you?
Well, I too have seen that Burger King commercial. But anyway, if you want to contact me, you can find me on YouTube. Shadow Blazer 3000 is my channel, and I do anime content and the occasional Let's Play here and there. And of course, follow me on social media. Always be up to date when I put up a new video. Follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort.
All right. And if people want to follow me directly, the best ways to be able to do so is you can follow my YouTube page, Twitter and Facebook, and that's the best place to get a hold of me. So you can follow me on Twitter at Drac2326, and you can follow my channel on Facebook at DracLP, where you can see all the updates of the various reviews that I'm doing, because I'm going as fast as I can so that I can do my top 10s of 2017, even though they're going to come out a little late. I'm still gathering footage, and it's driving me up the wall. because I want everything that I want. But the best place to be able to reach me is on Twitter at Drac2326. If you want to support the podcast, please consider going over to geekyweek.podomatic.com and showing your support for the RSS feed. Download there, follow there, or look us up on iTunes or Google Play if you're an Android user and support us via that way. And you will get up-to-the-minute downloads on... I actually try to get these things out just before your Monday morning commute, so that way you have a fresh episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions to be able to appreciate there. But please support the RSS feed first. If you want to support us on social media, the best way to be able to do that on the podcast is under the exact same name for Facebook and Twitter at GeekyNRO. And you'll get up-to-the-minute information when we're going live, the stuff we'll be talking about, stuff that I'm going to be starting to showcase for the various channels that we have, including our buddy Brinton and also our buddy Aldo, who is out there in the ether and we still think about every now and then. We'll showcase all of that content on the social media, so make sure to follow us there. And also, of course, if you want to leave us listener suggestions like we did tonight, or if you want to give us feedback on the podcast, you can do so at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. Thank you guys so much for all of the support, for all of the love that you guys have been able to show us, not only throughout last year, but also through the beginning of this year. We really have appreciated it, especially given in light of recent situations with YouTube. And frankly, there will be an announcement coming soon because we have been able to talk since the YouTube situation, and we are going to need to make a few minor changes. We're hoping they won't affect you guys too much, but we will keep you guys in the loop as those decisions go out, and that'll be happening very soon. But again, thank you guys so much for all of your support. And of course, like I reminded everybody last week, I'll remind them again, we are not going to be doing the podcast next week. There are just too many things going on in our lives outside of this. So we're just going to take next week off and we will meet the following week. So that's going to go ahead and do it for us for 2 weeks. So for me, for Romney, and for Alex, we will see you guys next time for even more geek news, reviews, and opinions. Take care.